We are live.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Green.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Calling you on this stormy night in the Midwest. Storms are moving in. Well, at least they are here. Are they moving in there?
Oh, they've been here for a while.
Yeah.
Raining, lightning.
They're on their way out and on their way to you.
It's going to be like 82 degrees tomorrow and then be like 50 at night. So that means lots of lightning.
Yeah, I don't think we're going above like 73 degrees for the next 5 days. That's kind of weird. That you guys are 82 for some reason. I know you guys are more in the jet stream, but...
Yeah.
Well, and Lake Michigan does a lot of weird shit. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's extra humid here.
Is there also like
I don't know how our summer...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna make a joke where I was like, "Is there also a mysterious amount of meth that just washes up all the time on the shore of Lake Michigan?"
No, we don't have that. We get it gets wildly humid here, and then really windy, and it goes away. So in the same day, it can seem like, oh, the temperature must have moved 18 degrees, but it hasn't moved at all. It just the humidity comes and goes. Our summers are not as hot as yours, though. Iowa's always hotter than Michigan. But yeah, we have we're surrounded by these weird waters that do things. So.
Well, in Iowa, you have to burn away the sin in the summer. I have no idea why Iowa. So I mean, it's basically flat. It's pretty great for wind moving across it and getting up to high speeds in most of the state. But still, it's like some of the hottest, most humid summers I think in any state in this area. So,
oh
yeah.
No,
Missouri.
No. Well, I mean, like in the Midwest, sure,
Yeah.
but like, have you been to fucking Georgia or
No,
Mississippi?
that's what I'm saying. In this region,
in the Midwest,
not
okay.
like not compared to the South. No.
No, yeah, the South is some other. I remember I was down in Atlanta at that Taurus plant in August. I was like, oh, this is not fit for man or beast. What are you guys doing?
Only fit for bugs.
I mean, you'd walk into that plant, it's like you're walking through some kind of artificial insulation. It's like, this is ungodly. And the guy's ramping the cars. It's like, yeah, you want get you a Pabst Blue Ribbon out of the cooler. Like, no, I don't think this is the day. Like 98 degrees with the sun bearing down. I was like, I don't think this is the time to be here.
No, you don't get it. It's bread now. Drink the bread.
Go on, get your beer. They don't care. Yeah, and then they close the plant a year later. Maybe they did care. Well, that was
there was I was in Georgia, and one of the funniest lines because we were on fuck, I forget what it's called. No, it's been the 2 weeks a year to like
2 weeker. Yeah.
I was down there, like one of the greatest lines when the guy said, so it's like 3-inch steel plate, and it was sitting on a maybe it was aluminum. Yeah, it was aluminum, and so they like have a big magnet, and it's like a overhead crane. You lift it up and you put it on the sand, whatever you use, the sand and the jet. What do you call that? Water jet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, water jet out the door, just like the frame of it. But it's still like but you have to lift up the big piece of fucking metal. Oh, maybe it was steel, because yeah, he's just using magnets. Oh, wait, no, it was aluminum because he had a bunch of clamps and shit. Anyways, so so you have to lift it on there with all this crane and shit, set it down, water jet it, and then you have to lift it back out. And like what they do is they just, they use some, I forget what it's called, but they just like quickly drilled a hole in it, and then threaded it like really fucking quick, and then just put like an eye, what do you call it? You know, it's just like a screw with like a little eye hook on it.
Oh, eye bolt.
Yeah. And then they just lift that whole thing up and like from the bolt, and it lifts it up, and like because it's a pretty fine cut, the door doesn't come free from the steel. So it's
Okay.
like hanging there, and then he's like hovering over like this place, and then we're just kind of like slapping it up and down until the thing comes loose, and he's like, "It's not safe, but it's quick."
Oh, that's terrific. Yeah, that sounds like something they'd say. Yeah, because you probably have how many hundreds of pounds floating around.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And those guys were like, I mean, they were knowledgeable and they could do their job, but they also knew how to take like 3 days worth of work and turn it into 4 months worth of work.
Yeah. Subcontractors.
No, they're government employees, but
Oh, okay. Well, even better. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, Tom, this week we gotta move this crate over here, 5 inches over that way. 1 inch a day. That's the rule, Tom. Come on.
Yeah, that's. I've heard of stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's even jobs at my plant where it's just basically a guy moving a box every 5 minutes. It's not even a box anybody needs to move, and that's his job half the day. So yeah, it's
well, I mean, the thing is, like, you don't know how many work orders you're gonna get. So like, if they got a shit ton of work orders, like they could knock it out if they wanted to, but they just don't know when the work orders are coming in. So if you don't have any work to do, you get sent home, and that's no money.
Oh, well, then it makes perfect sense. That means that's really not their fault. That means the system's terribly managed.
yeah. Technically,
I've seen people that have like flow bench test jobs that it's like they were flow testing the same what do they used to call those things? Throttle bodies, for like a month. But they just vary the results so it looks like they're doing different stuff. Because I forget what the reason was for that. Because they were gonna make a bunch of a certain kind of engine and then they didn't make it. But these guys were like contractors, and it's like, well, we're still under contract to do X amount a day, and we're not telling these guys any different. So they just be sitting at the flow bench all day. It's like, man, these guys are really knocking out some numbers. Yeah, all they do is put like a piece of paper where the two things go together to blow air through it, so it creates a leak, so it looks like it's variating. We got some weird numbers here. Those guys did weird shit though. Like they'd put alternators on a stand and a pulley and just run them, and then they'd like fill the room with was it liquid nitrogen? They try to see how cold the alternator would get till it failed. Like how cold you can, and it was some ridiculously cold. Like you would never encounter this in the real world. It's like
It's in space. The carburetor works in space.
258 degrees below freezing, and it's like, oh, the Bering Seas is like, okay, well you'll never encounter that. And I forget what else. I've heard at the proving grounds, which that's all employees. Some of the test to failure stuff is pretty astounding what they do. It's like we're just they have like a catapult like you would use to shoot planes off of an aircraft carrier, but it's more geared towards car speed and weight. And they do things like hook tow cables up to the frames and just launch them on this catapult, and then the tow cables would take them up, and they were measuring the frame failure test on shock load and stuff with a brand new truck. I mean, and of course it would just rip the axle and rip the frame out from underneath it in some cases. It's like, okay, if they shock loaded at 23,000 pounds, it's going to fail. It's like, of course it will. Would we ever encounter that? And then, just run the engine, like turn off all the safety features and just punch the gas. And Takes 15 minutes sometimes for them to fail at red line. You figure an engine wouldn't tolerate that for more than a minute or two? No. And we're talking like diesel engines. They get 5,000 RPMs, like tack, 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 going. It just won't stop.
Should we put it in second gear? Fuck no.
Yeah.
How much
That's-
of these? Let's do it 20 more times to make sure the baseline's right.
They'll destroy a lot of vehicles to. Well, and sometimes they're doing. There's the continuous. What is it? The revolving door of lawsuits, where sometimes they're doing stuff like that just to show in a court. It's like, yeah, what these people are alleging is bullshit because this is what happens in our test. If you want to buy a vehicle from us and conduct your own, we'll gladly sell you one. Usually that puts the kibosh on when they have to do $100,000 worth of testing. So yeah, there's a lot of weird destructive tests that go on that are. It's like, how you couldn't imagine doing that. It's like, let's see what happens.
Well, when you got, obviously you're not paying the full. Sometimes full labor if it's a fully constructed car and stuff. I'm sure it's some of the stuff just obviously testing parts and full engines put together and stuff like that too. It's not just the whole car put together, so it's not as costly to.
No,
dump-
sometimes these are the whole cars put together.
Oh,
When they're
jeez.
doing lawsuits, they have to do what they produce.
Oh, okay.
So this has to be like, yeah, we just rolled this one off a lot. Here we go. This is what'll happen when you do this.
I always
There
like
are some bogus fucking lawsuits.
the stories that come out of like military trials for weapons. It's like, the gun maker, their manufacturer, they'll do their own tests. It's like, oh no, and then the army finds some weird shit or they just get some dumb people doing the test. It's like, you found a way to create a failure that we have never thought of.
Oh yeah, the guy's using a oven cleaner to clean stuff. And it like they thought the coating was defective on some kind of weapons, and it turns out no, these guys are using oven cleaner, and it would like eat the coating off of it. It was something like, it wasn't a rifle, it was some bigger type of, maybe an artillery type weapon,
Huh.
but they wanted them to look real shiny all the time, and they got tired of having to clean the fuck out of them. So like, just put this oven easy off, it'll get it right off. Like strip the Teflon lining out of it and everything. You'd fire it once and it'd lock up like an old Chevy with no oil in it. Well, these guns are pieces of shit. And then the manufacturer's like, where's all the coating on it? It still looks black. It's like, yeah, this is like whatever dioxides in oven cleaner.
Everyone's up. We had to clean our rifles for like an inspection, and we're at Camp Pendleton, where there was less officers around to see things going on, and like the drill instructor had us get our rifles, and we're out by where you like, it's just a bunch of sinks, and like they turn them all on. It's like, all right, dump your rifles. You're like, what? Just fucking showering the goddamn rifles to make them look clean. And they already have like rust bits on it that you have to constantly like take CLP to try to get it off. I was like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, let's dunk it in water.
It's mostly for like the hand guards, because that's where like the dust you can't get to without like having to disassemble off the
Yeah.
fucking hand guards, or that Picatinny rail and all that shit.
Yep, you can buy what do they have at Cabela's now? You can just buy a sonic cleaner. Put those. I mean, it's a special. It gets expensive, and they have one for rifles, but it's really long. But yeah, they're for handguns. I know a guy had one, and I used it once, and they put it in the. You got to take anything rubber off, but if you're cleaning a gun after a full day of shooting crap target ammunition, like my 1911, is like that thing's gonna be just black all the way through. Take me a couple hours to clean it right. Just take it apart, put the parts in the basket. A minute later, they come out, the gun looks brand new. Like, holy shit, how much is this? And then you find out, it's like, well, I'll just spend some time cleaning it at home. Throwing that kind of cash at it. I shoot every week. It's like, oh, well, you're a weirdo then. But
Should we make a thing? Are we all gonna watch John Wick 3 for next show?
I guess I could. I've never watched one of those in the theater.
So I figured that was the like other movie this year that I'll see, Endgame and John Wick.
Should just be John Wick 3. Avengers die. It's like,
Tony Stark killed my dog.
no, I mean there's long shot in John Wick 3, and then also the zombie movie coming out with Bill Murray and Adam Driver is what I wanted.
Oh yeah, the Jim Jarmusch zombie
Yeah.
movie.
I don't know if it'll come out around here at all. Probably not.
Probably not.
But those are the 3 movies I wanted to see in recent.
Jim Jarmusch made a zombie movie.
Yeah, with like Adam Driver and Bill Murray.
And Daniel Glover and like a bunch of other people.
John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Yeah, it's playing around here.
Yeah. You can go. I think you can still go see it.
It's not
now.
like an indie movie.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was out yet.
Oh yeah, it came out this week.
Yeah.
So I figured like Andrew would have already seen it, but
Well, my wife almost bought us tickets for 9 o'clock this morning, but I had overtime, so that didn't work out. So I don't know if I'll see it tomorrow or not yet. Depends on what my wife wants to do, I guess.
Yeah, I'll see. I'm sure my son would like to see that with me.
I think the gun they use in this movie is one of those 2011s. Have you seen those?
No,
It's basically a 1911 frame, but it's like for 9mm, and it has all the special shit for basically competition shooting.
Oh, it's like one of those TSI
Yeah, yeah,
big mag wells and stuff. Or I'm sorry, STI International with the big mag wells and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, those are cool. And they're affordable too.
Really? Or are you joking? They're like okay. Because
I was gonna
aren't they
say,
like $2,000?
As soon as you said competition and all this other stuff, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't sound affordable. I mean, the 9mm does bring the price point down, but anything 1911 modified, that's going to be... Because 1911s by themselves are at least $1,200, $1,500 just
Yeah.
by themselves.
Well, and this one is like it's like a custom shop, so like
Oh,
they
God,
don't
yeah.
they don't like make
Mass produced.
yeah. So like
At least $5,000-$10,000 gun.
$3,000.
okay.
Oh, that's not as bad as I thought it would be for a custom shop.
I think I saw a video on it one time. The guy was talking about it, and it was like it's only $3,000, and you don't have to change the trigger once you get it. Like the trigger you get's good enough for you. It's like that's I wish I had that kind of like fuck you money where it's like let me buy this $4,000 gun. Oh, it needs a better trigger.
Yeah, you gotta change up this trigger, boss.
Yeah.
Or they're talking about like something with it's something you have to do with, or like how the people are like modifying their Glocks. It was like a guy was talking about is like buying a standard Glock, but then you got to spend another $100 to put like a red dot on it because of how like because it has to like because where you put the red dot on it, it has to be like you have to like machine down parts of the
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And so you're
Yeah.
like
Go crazy over that shit.
it's like that's fucking ridiculous.
The only gun I've ever wanted just for a pure luxury item is like the one I had in my home desktop screen for a while, like the Nintendo Zapper gun, but it's
Oh,
fucking,
yeah.
it's like Glock 45.
That one's cool.
And it's like, yeah, I just want that, not to shoot, just to like fucking, yep, that looks like fucking great gun. I mean, I know like Glock's very customizable now. Like I mean, it was customizable to begin with, but I haven't been to the Glock store in a long time. I have no idea the extents you can go to now with like.
Well, the one I saw, it's not one they make, but it's like it's a special outfit that does this custom job where you can like fold the Glock in on itself,
Oh.
and you can just put it in your pocket. So like the handle like folds over, and like the magazine just like sticks through, and like
Oh.
so it's like you basically have the magazine and the barrel folded on top of each other, so it's like a square, and you can like put it in your pocket.
Can you also fire it while it's in that position?
No.
Okay.
So you pull it out and then you fold it out and then you're ready to go.
I always liked the thing that looked like a briefcase. You could drop a Glock 19 in it. It's a satchel. You're carrying it, and you press a button, and the stock comes out, and it's just the Glock internal. But
Yeah.
it's got a front thing too, and it's like, for and it has, you can put a 30-round magazine in it, and it's all it's semi-automatic, of course. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
But you could it's like, yeah, this is like a carry option. It's like, for who? Like, oh wait.
We're remaking. Falling Down.
Yeah. Yeah, instead of like an orange or an apple and a sandwich.
We're gonna call the movie "Too Big to Fail." It's just a guy going around with a briefcase. Fuck, yeah. Yeah, do people even carry briefcases or like satchel bags? I mean, satchel bags, yes, because like the straps and stuff. But like, I don't think I've seen people carry briefcases that much anymore.
Oh, there's guys around here now that carry purses. Like, I see that. Like, it's a guy, it'll be a shoulder strap thing that's about this big, and he'll pull stuff out to pay for it. It's like, it's some European thing that they do. Because it's hard to pickpocket it, I guess, because it's strapped around your neck. But yeah, I see more of that around here. And it's sometimes I see that, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Is it a purse or is it like that kind of bandolier shoulder thing?
It's like, I don't know how to describe it. Let's say it's about like this big. But it's like, you're carrying it, it's got like a strap, and it's over your shoulder.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
okay,
it's like
so it's just a purse.
man purse, and it's weird. And to see, like, if some guy did that and he was like French or something, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's their thing. But some dude in flip flops, like, oh yeah, let me pay for this. It's like, you're doing something weird. Don't do that here.
I think I saw one where it was like, have like those inside waistband concealed carry holsters. It's like that, but your wallet. It's like an inside waistband wallet, so people can't pickpocket you.
Yeah.
Or if they do, they have to grab your dick.
Yeah.
If you want to try to steal from me, it's going to be a mildly homoerotic.
This is gonna go on Reddit suddenly gay after I've
Do you
seen
need
it.
some, or are we doing this?
Which way is this going to go?
I mean, if you want to complete it, then the money's yours out of the law. You don't have to steal it; you can work for it.
Yeah.
It's theft, prostitution, and it's all legal.
You can earn your keep right now. You don't have to be a thief. You can be a gay prostitute.
And then
I
you
didn't know that life was going to go this way, but here we are.
It'd be really sad though if he tricked him into giving you a hand job or a blowy for free, because then he takes your wallet like, oh look, there's nothing in there.
Now, what?
Manipulate you and lie to you.
Now, what did we learn?
That's when you go for the Glock, carry satchel. That's when that would be appropriate. You're probably going to have to saturate someone with hollow points at that point. Explain that. That'd be an interesting self-defense case. Well, he blew me. I tricked him into blowing me. He robbed me. It turns out I didn't have anything, and he got mad, so I had to kill him because he threatened me. So therefore, this is clearly justifiable, right?
Technically, you could say it was the barter system. I didn't have anything to pay him, so I gave him blood in exchange for him blowing me.
He couldn't live with himself. Mercy killing.
He's like, I can't be gay for free. I gotta be gay for pay.
There has to be sacrifice involved.
I thought I was at least gonna get like a Big Mac out of this or something. Jesus. Or if that'd be kind of funny if I'm sure somebody's probably done this where like the sex worker just wants food or something, so they have sex and they just go up to the drive-thru and get him like a fucking value meal and give him that shit.
Can I get a Happy Meal, please? This is gonna be a Happy Meal. They had a big, huge sting 20 miles from me yesterday. Human trafficking. And I forget how many people got arrested, but it was a lot. And these are... this is becoming more and more common. I just don't understand the attraction. Want sex? Looking for something desperate and kind of sad? Yeah, actually.
Live your fantasy.
I mean, I can see why it's the
I mean,
new-
you know, the lap dance is always better when the stripper is crying. We learned
Yes.
that. We learned that from Bloodhound Gang.
Yeah, any sex act is always better with the kind of the vanilla scent of suffering about it.
she's not moving. I wonder if she's dead or just doesn't want to. Like,
Yeah.
No, I mean, I can see why. Because I know human trafficking, especially like for sex and stuff like that, has been up for quite a while. But I know it's just because, hey, look, what do we
Well,
have plenty of and nobody's using?
I
Humans.
don't know if it's up or if they just know how to look for it better now.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, a lot of these people are getting busted because they're finding out. This isn't like John's pulling up in a car like, hey,
This is like it's a nail salon with a hand job side counter.
well, yeah, but a lot of this they're finding because they set people up. This through the internet. It's like because cops will just go on the internet, you know, like to whatever suspected site. Hey, I want to meet someone. Oh, okay, yeah, and they'll be in like chat rooms with bunches of people. Yeah, it's over here in Warren, Michigan. Oh, okay, well we'll all meet there, and they will. The freaking SWAT team and everyone else will be there. And then up here that we have the what was the horrible one? It was the Chinese restaurant with the Chinese massage next door. And it was like this, you know, it wasn't a great Chinese restaurant, I guess, and it's like, but they were just doing, you know, gangbusters business there. Like the parking lot was always full. Yeah, it was, you know, out the back prostitution.
I was gonna ask if it was a Sweeney Todd operation.
No, yeah, just butchering people and stuff.
What are
Come
those
on,
cars
milk.
doing here?
Yeah, next thing you know,
Nobody
you're
in the building.
like handcuffed to the milking table and being decapitated. Yeah, that's happened.
I mean, if you only do it one person at a time, I mean that's enough meat for the day, right? I mean,
Yes, I don't know what the
maybe two.
quantities are.
Yeah,
Next time I go to a Chinese restaurant, I ask the server, so how many people do you have to kill and prepare a day to feed us all? Look them straight in the eyes, that, and they might just answer you. Oh, 3. All 3.
I see on the menu here you have the Human special. Is that how you pronounce it? Yes, that's how you pronounce
the Liang pig.
it.
What is the El Porque Americano? That sounds Spanish. This isn't a Mexican.
Oh, that's just a sex act. You're good.
Oh, okay. What is the Sturdy Sanchez with bean sprouts? Where do the bean sprouts come into this?
For your health.
The Angry Dragon with soy sauce.
That's where we give you a behind the back hand job and shoot soy sauce up your ass at the same time.
Ah, the old soy sauce enema.
And that way when you ejaculate, the soy sauce kind of clenches up into your sphincter and it burns. That's why it's called the Angry Dragon.
There's so much sodium in soy sauce that would probably kill you.
Yeah, I probably would.
I mean, I need to look it up on the internet. I'm sure someone's like soy sauce enema.
There's
It's
probably
like,
some website where some guy's like, I put it all up my butt. Like, see what the results say.
No.
Yes.
Latest post not available.
yeah. This was his last post.
But no, speaking of weird combinations and body parts, there is a gentleman that frequents our hobby shop that is an older gentleman that's retired and has some fun stories every now and then. And he's been living in the Cedar Rapids area since he's been a young boy, and his older brother delivered newspapers, and they're in the Czech Village, which is kind of more closer to our downtown where the town started. There's an ambulance station and a pipe fitters union in the same building with a barracks out back, and that's where his brother delivered newspapers to as part of his route. And so one day he goes there and he steals something from one of the guys that works there, and then they catch him and they tell him, like, you ever do this again, we're going to paint your balls yellow. And so it was like, oh, okay, and then he shakes it off or whatever, and then one day he comes home and sees his brother in front of the mirror naked and his balls are yellow, and is like, what the fuck is this? And his brother was like, oh, I stole from him again, so, they chased me down and took my pants off and painted my balls yellow or whatever. And it's like, huh, this is a bunch of grown men thinking in 1969, you know how we'll teach that kid not to steal again? Let's take his pants off and put paint all over his cock. Like, let's do
What happened to the good old beating the shit out of him? We'll sodomize him. He'll never do that again.
But at the same time, it was just more or less everybody was kind of gathered around and laughing their ass off, and a couple of us brought up the point. So it's like, so you're saying there's like 4 or 5 guys there, right? He's like, yeah. And he's like, so not one of them was like, yeah, and then we're gonna paint your balls. What?
Yeah, there was no moment of pause. Where, I don't know about this one, guys. Let's just get out of him.
It's like, do we really have to?
It was done to us, and now it must be done to you.
Legacy continues.
And then I had the bright idea of like, oh yeah, it was 1969. It was probably lead paint. So double whammy.
It's the eye of the tiger.
And so I was like, and then so everybody kind of started having this spirited conversation about like, you know how the politicians want to bring back the good old times, like the 60s and the 50s? Is that just what good old times are? Just times where you could rape people, molest children, and do as many drugs and booze as you want without repercussion? Because that's what it seems like it is. And it's like,
Well, that's what I learned from that. The speaking of the good old days, that's what I learned from that like Ken Burns Prohibition documentary. You know how they you always used to tell these stories like your great grandparents, like when I was a kid, we walked to school 16 miles uphill backwards, and then there was a lot of shit like that going on. But people were also hammered all the time, constantly. There was no, way to detect that. I mean, and everyone was doing it. I remember they were talking like in 1910, the Boston Herald ran some article about how they were having trouble getting their papers delivered to people because by 9 a.m. all the news, because they would pay the people at weird times, but all the newspaper delivery boys were completely shit-faced. It's like, because I always think prohibition was a result of religious maniacs, and it's like part of it was, but part of it was also everyone was fucked up all the time because there was no rules about alcohol except you couldn't serve it on Sunday because the churches have to get their cut. So, yeah, sometimes when I hear those stories about the good old days, it's like, yeah, they weren't that good, and everyone was hammered all the time, too, constantly.
yeah, also the good old days where you could scratch your hand on a rusty nail and die 2 weeks later. Or
Yeah, that's my thing about never being a time traveler. When you read about what dental care was like even 50 years ago, it'd send you running, screaming. No!
My left toe hurts, well, we're going to put you down. It's like everybody knows that's the consumption.
Yeah.
We can save the toe, but your body must die.
All we have to do is set you on fire and have you trampled by a band of wild horses. You'll be fine.
I'm feeling sad, and sometimes I think I hear things. Well, we have a cure for that. We're going to drill a hole in your temple and run a wire around in there real fast, like you clear a drain, and you'll be fine.
If the drill to your head doesn't kill you. Yeah,
That's what a lobotomy was.
No, I know. I just say because that used to be. Didn't that used to be a thing too? People were encouraged to like take a drill and just drill a hole into their head to let out the evil or whatever, let out the
Well, I don't know.
bad energy.
Maybe that like in the medieval times. I don't know if that was a recent thing. We might be heading back to that after what Alabama did this week. It's like, really, we're still debating that, huh? This is what medieval peasant society worried about. This isn't what modern. This is what should be happening in 2020. We should be having flying cars and replicants chasing people around.
We should have cool problems.
Yeah, we should have like scary problems. Just what is Sky God gonna do? Same thing he's done the last 500,000 years. Nothing.
I don't care about the sky to God. I just want Skynet and have something to fight.
Yeah, I want real enemies that are way more intelligent than me and have power. I don't want invisible ones. I don't want to have to give your stupid church 10% of my income, so you don't come to my house and burn a cross in the front yard or whatever we're doing now. Oh man! So we watched an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. classic.
They're
Well,
all wearing MAGA hats, and they're all,
Yeah, that's what happened.
1987's. I think that was it. Star Trek.
Yeah, it was the end of 1988.
Okay.
It was the next to last episode of the kind of bizarre season 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and this was kind of a bizarre cap almost to the. I mean, the season or the episode that came after this was one of their best episodes, but this one, this was episode number
25 or 24.
episode 25 of season 1, next to last episode, and it was a totally different Star Trek: The Next Generation. And then I'll just briefly go over the high points of essentially a group of alien parasites that climb into your body, have taken over Starfleet Command, and Captain Picard is contacted by some of his other admiral captain friends, and they tell him
Code 47.
yeah, there's some kind of that was it, Code 47, and they go meet at a planet in secret, and these guys fill him in about there's been strange stuff going on.
Well, I like the way he keeps the one guy keeps throwing around shit that isn't true. It's like you introduce Beverly to whatever Crusher or whatever, and it's like you don't have a brother, and you have 2 sisters. Like, oh, good.
yeah, they're trying to test and see who's involved. And this was kind of this is one of those like forgotten, almost borderline gory episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh yeah. The last 10
10
minutes
minutes.
is basically a David Cronenberg flick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're eating worms out of a bowl, and people are being phasered to pieces and killed. And the
Phaser that guy's skin off his face.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite scenes is like the fight with the admiral that's on the Enterprise, because I guess once these parasites take you over, you're like super strong, and he beats the shit out of Geordi and Worf before they finally they hit him with the phaser like on the heaviest stun setting, and this guy's like 75 years old. Looks like an old man. He's throwing people across the room. Or no, maybe it was it wasn't. It was Worf and Jonathan Frakes. Yeah, I forget. But Riker. Yeah, it was a weird episode, and it was one. This was when the writing team all was changed, because for season 2 they had different writers.
Well, yeah, they also changed things because the writer strike happened after this, right? Because this was supposed to be like a cliffhanger, but then this is also supposed to be the introduction to the Borg.
Well, see, that's where it gets weird, because the next episode after this, The Neutral Zone, was where they meet the Romulans for the first time in a long time. And they talk about, we thought it was you destroying our outposts in the Neutral Zone. And Picard's like, no, it's not us. And the Romulans are like, there's some alien force out there that we can't even comprehend or defeat, that's destroying stuff along the Neutral Zone. And this episode ended where these parasite aliens sent a signal into space. Remember that at the very end?
Yeah, because you hear it keep beeping.
Yeah. And then you never hear about it again. And supposedly this was going to be bridged together with these are like the people that these parasites hunt races down for the Borg to invade.
Yeah.
But it was just too weird and convoluted. And the episode was almost not a Star Trek episode. It was more like a little horror movie.
Yeah.
And so they never followed up on this afterwards, even though the whole thing takes place in one standard episode, not even a 2-parter, and the highest echelons of Starfleet have been infiltrated and taken over. And then next episode, it's like, well, what are we doing now? That's all settled.
Yeah, I'd say they kind of recycled this for the Dominion Wars, because basically have the same thing happen where the Dominion are using their shape changers to infiltrate and take over positions and bomb people.
Yeah, they kind of used the story, but some of the ideas. But yeah, this was a weird this is a weird episode from a weird time in Star Trek, because those first season and a half of Star Trek: The Next Generation is not as it's not as awesome as people seem to
No.
think, because they were definitely
When Riker gets the beard, that's when Next Gen gets better.
I mean, there's some good episodes.
Yeah. But there's also
is
26 fucking episodes.
Yeah. And this is kind of an example of this, the schizophrenia. And but this is an episode I like. It's just like sometimes I think, like, what if they followed this story? Like, where was this gonna go?
Well, I thought that was something, this was on a podcast. I don't know. That was with the trivia reference, something on a podcast. Apparently, like the violence in the episode was insisted upon by Gene Roddenberry because he wanted to stop getting notes or something. Or it was like punishment for something. Like, I'm getting too many notes. Make this more violent.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff because David Gerald was one of the writers on this, and he's a sci-fi writer. And because this was sort of an impromptu episode in a lot of ways, because they said, well, let's make a kind of a horrifying episode. Like, that was the idea. Let's make a one-off kind of scary episode, and then it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then finally,
Well, didn't they had to scale it back because they didn't have like all the sets and stuff, and it was just too expensive.
well, there was that, and originally it was supposed to just be a violent episode about a conspiracy within Starfleet involving humans.
Oh.
It was just admirals trying to overthrow something and take over make the Federation into kind of like a military junta, because it's like, we know that we have enemies out there, and this truce with the Klingons isn't going to last, and we can't trust the Romulans, and Roddenberry did not like that. He's like, no, let's make it something external, because that's really kind of anathema to what Starfleet is, where there's conspiracies of people trying to do things. And then, you know, when they filmed The Undiscovered Country 4 years later, that's exactly what happened. But, you know, it's different times. So, yeah, this was one of those episodes that had like a lot of things thrown at the wall, and this is what they came up with. Yeah, and it is remembered as one of the most violent episodes, because a lot of people die in this, either on screen or, you know, characters you meet or just
Oh
killed.
yeah, because at the end of it, like the implications, like all the hierarchy of Starfleet is decimated
Yeah.
or affected
Well-
in some way.
Well, and remember the lady who comes back, she's like the investigator, and this was in season 3 maybe, or season 2, and she's like more like an inquisitor, because something got sabotaged on the Enterprise, and she was sent in to investigate why, because it involved a Klingon exchange officer, and one of the Starfleet members was actually half Romulan, but he said he was Vulcan because he could never get into Starfleet if he said he was Romulan, and she like ruined the guy's career, but it turned out he wasn't doing anything, and she was just like she became a witch hunter.
Oh,
Well, she was the lady in charge after Picard figured this out, of rooting out all the conspiracy. But you never see her in this episode. It's just it echoes back to this, like in season 3, I think. And so yeah, that was it was understood to be a dark time, but something that wasn't really followed up. And like I said, season 2 they had almost all new writers, and they really weren't keen to follow this one up directly. So it's when they hearken, but they reference this in 2 other Star Trek episodes. That there's that one and another one, and but yeah, and I can't think of what the other one is, but yeah, it was a fun Starfleet or Star Trek episode. It's like, I didn't know phasers worked that way. Bump the setting up to blow the skin off. Okay, change it from skinning to boning.
oh, and then the alien bursts out of the guy's chest.
Yeah.
Fry that thing.
Where's Ripley? Well, then the aliens had weird nipples that stuck out of the back of the necks of people. Took over so they could breathe, which was like a weird, obvious tell. It's like, oh, well, once we find out about the nipples, we know what to look for. But be careful, because they're 6 times stronger than normal now.
It's all the nipples.
Yeah.
And then they basically have like the kind of like a Temple of Doom scene where like people are eating worms.
Live worms. That's what the parasites eat. And Yeah, it was a strange. I don't think I've ever seen a Star Trek episode quite like that.
Or you should start watching the Star Trek the porn version.
Yeah. There's worms coming out, all right.
It's like there's a whole season for tentacle porn. Just the whole, like, doesn't his, just like normal everyday scenes, like she's eating lunch and all of a sudden tentacle porn. Just doesn't make any sense.
And it's never referenced in the next episode.
No, I mean it's just like your episode here where you have this giant world-changing event that changes everything, and it's like Picard at the end just said #Mondays, and then the next episode everything was back to normal. So I mean, yeah.
Well, that was very of the time for, especially for, because Star Trek was syndicated.
Oh,
Yeah, they were sometimes shooting 4 episodes simultaneously.
So like the people would want a show where anybody could jump in at any time. They wouldn't have to like re-explain anything, which is
Well-
completely opposite of how people consume
median.
TV nowadays.
Well, yeah, because if a TV show did that now, there's like a big cliffhanger, a big change the plot at the end of the end of
Or
the
somebody
season.
dies and somebody's really affected by it. It's like, why are they so mad?
I mean they've kind of done that with certain shows that like drop an actor or something or try to replace somebody that's died, where they kind of skip over something or gloss over it, but they still try and pay some kind of homage to it in some way, either through story or just mentioning something. So I don't think that would fly very well, like you said. It's just not.
I mean, still like a lot of crime procedural drama is still like, they'll have like a 3-episode arc where like things carry forward, but like they generally reset after that, unless they kill off a major character or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like if you watch any of the shows we grew up with, where it's like Saved by the Bell or Birdie Cheroot and stuff like that, where it's like, oh yeah, all this intricate stuff where it's like the relationship between these characters, and like, oh yeah, you never see this person again in the 10 seasons of the show, or it never gets referenced again ever. And it's like, oh yeah, that was kind of throwaway, and nobody really noticed. And,
I like trying to think of MacGyver, and like I remember episodes of MacGyver, but I don't like remember like seasons or like what episode preceded another episode. I just watched episodes of MacGyver.
yeah, I think it just basically turned into like every week he just finds himself in a different situation, helps that person, and,
Yeah.
and it just becomes the next situation.
And the only one, there was like that evil MacGyver guy. I can't remember his name. It was like Stark or something like that.
It's probably MacGruber.
Like that was like his his big foil that like, he'd have to like fight against. And I was like oh, there's a through line here.
Well, I think MacGyver used to be on Netflix, and I meant to watch more of it, and I think I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes. I don't think it's on there anymore. If it is, that'd be awesome, because I just probably like try and watch a couple seasons, see if there's a.
Well, I like
Storyline.
CBS has their new MacGyver, which I've never
Oh.
watched. I don't know if it's good.
I
or
guess
not.
I didn't know they had a new MacGyver.
Yeah, there's a new MacGyver.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's like shit. He's basically like the last remaining cast member on CSI. Like the shit, I can't remember his name. He's just like a dude.
Oh, okay.
Some white dude. And like so like when CSI was canceled, he went to MacGyver.
Sorry, I thought of a really racist joke.
Well, keep it to yourself.
No, with MacGyver, where it's just like thinking in my head, it's like, oh, I was kind of hoping they'd cast somebody besides a white guy, but I'm like thinking, like, oh, if they cast an Arab guy, they're just like, he'd be making somebody shout bomb, and the MacGyver shot. I don't know. Sorry, I have a horrible mind. Or just like MacGyver, like he's black, he reaches something in his pocket.
Immediately shot. You'll never get this 2-episode arc of MacGyver. End of series.
Sorry. Just something where it's like, goddamn society for putting down my people of different ethnic stereotypes. Like, but no, like you see somebody invented like it was on like a fucking sponsored thing, but like it's a fucking wallet you put it in the center of your fucking console of your car. So it has your license, your registration, and proof of insurance, and all your important shit right there. So it's called like the No Reach.
Oh
So
yeah, it's like
basically, it's like clear and see through, so the cops can't say like he tried to reach for a gun and then just shoot the shit out of him.
yeah,
or
it's like
whatever.
on the steering column.
Yeah.
And so you have your hands on the steering, and all your license and everything is like basically right on the steering wheel for the cop to look at. So you don't have, so you never move. So you're not gonna get shot by a police officer for being black.
Yeah, because the amount of posts I see and shit where it's just like somebody capturing a police officer without his knowledge, like taking a picture or video of him arresting or trying to arrest somebody. Like, it's always just like the guy looking for his license and the cop's already got his fucking hand on his goddamn gun the entire time. It's just like, yes, we get it, your job's dangerous and it does involve a lot of people that probably try and do you harm occasionally. But it doesn't mean every situation revolves around you. Like, nope, I gotta be ready. It's like I gotta be able to shoot him in 5 seconds. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Oh, you seen like police training videos? Like they scare the fuck out of those guys.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Cause
I remember it was like the one. Or it was a former Marine. I think he's like drunk, and the cop pulls him over, and like the fucking and then like the guy like starts fighting the cop, and he doesn't pull a gun on him, and then the guy like grabs, he has like a fucking M1 Garand and like chases the cop down, like shoots him dead.
Jesus.
well, I mean, there's
The drunk guy was the Marine.
when that Ted
Yeah.
Bundy movie came out on Netflix, I just watched this week, like a month or so ago, whenever it dropped. Like they had because I didn't know all about Ted Bundy's like multiple escapes and what happened during them and stuff like that. But during his last one, where he encountered a police officer and then beat the shit out of him and tried to take his weapon and kill him, the police officer said in his testimony he was trying really hard not to shoot him and stuff like that. But now it's just like somebody just reaches for their wallet and then they just get unloaded on. And it's just like, that's really fucking sad that it's went from, oh, I'll try not to kill the guy after he tried to kill me, but now it's just like he moved his hand 5 inches from where it was before, so he's got to die.
Well, I mean, that's all the militarization of our police.
Oh, I know. Do you see that Cedar Rapids bought a armored vehicle now?
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, because somebody posted it on Facebook, like, "Oh, congratulations, Cedar Rapids has an armored assault vehicle now," and it was like,
Cool. Who are we gonna armored assault first?
Believe me, they'll find something.
It's like, no, I mean, yes, we have drug problems and same problems every other medium to large city has, but I can't imagine we need that fucking thing. I mean, we did just have 4 people gunned down in a fucking car yesterday or today or whatever, but at the same time, I don't think an armored assault vehicle is going to stop that from happening.
Yeah, you seem to have a lot of that there.
Well, last time you were here, somebody got shot in a Walmart parking lot,
Oh,
or at my Walmart parking lot. But it's always a drug thing.
well, this thing was on the west side too, and it was just like outside the smoke shop or whatever.
Yeah, probably a drug thing.
So
Yeah.
It's usually like all the shootings, like, well, not all the shootings, but most shootings where it's like, it was like at Walmart has always been, it was like 2 guys from Chicago somehow in Cedar Rapids fighting over drugs and shoot each other. It's
There's a
like
lot-
just Chicago's just exporting its violence.
There's a lot of closer places in Iowa that are closer to Chicago to fight over drugs at. Why does nobody fight over drugs in Dubuque? Or friggin'...
I know they probably do.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, it's like, there's a lot... I don't know why they have to come all the way to Cedar Rapids to fight over the shit and then fucking...
They're trying to get away from all the violence in Chicago.
It's hard to perpetrate this violence when there's all this violence going.
I mean, or at least pick a spot that, maybe might not be known for,
It's like,
complications and
well, like,
shit.
isn't that a TV show, Chirac?
Yeah, it is. Which is really sad that even has any basis in reality. But yeah, I don't know. And that's,
Trump was gonna fix that. That's what he said in his campaign.
he didn't promise anything about anything. He just said, blah, 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 you stupid idiots will vote for me, blah, blah, blah. That's all he said.
Oh, thought it was gonna get better.
Yeah.
I promise.
That's what everybody thought. At
Well,
least that's what everybody wanted to
through
think.
some people's eyes, it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
going perfectly.
I like how some people just believe the blind lies that he tells them. It's like, our economy's better than ever. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, it's not. Like, it's not like just because he says that everything's going great.
I
doesn't
feel
mean it
better
is.
than ever about being poor and having no future. Well, congratulations.
And it's like, yeah, the stock market really bumped up when you let all those companies take all their tax money back and pump it back into buybacks for their share prices to go up. And now every time you get the tariffs, like fucking didn't this week China put another $60 billion worth of tariffs on shit? And it made the Dow drop like 500 fucking points in a day.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like Trump keeps thinking that he can just like, oh yeah, we'll play ball with them. We'll just keep doing more tariffs on tariffs, and it's like, no, that's
Well, he's doing the old Reagan tactic of like, how crazy is this guy, making people capitulate, but not knowing how stupid and crazy our president is.
Yeah, when Nixon was operating under the madman theory, it was assumed that, like, well, maybe he isn't really a madman. However, with this guy, I don't think he knows, exactly. It's like, how far can I go? Well, on my TV show, it's like, yes, but all your adversaries were scripted on your TV show. The enemies we face now are not scripted.
he's like, but don't we still make up our own enemies? It's like, technically yes, but
Kind of, yeah. Make them seem bigger.
All right, I'm gonna run through my games list real quick so we can knock this off our list.
All right, go for it.
Well, you wrote down they are billions. Is there anything you wanted to bring up about they are billions?
Yeah, I mean, with the campaign should be coming out soon, but also all the new like the wonders and the new giant mode. I mean, the AI seems to work better now as far as like anticipating your weak points. I mean, it always worked pretty well with that, but just seems more playable than ever, just because it seems more diverse. And I mean, they didn't really add any more units or anything to the game. They just made things act better and more accordingly to what they should have been doing. So I don't know. It's just a good touchstone to go back to because it's an easy game to pick up and it's kind of timeless.
Yeah, I just beat it the one time and like called it good until they actually release it for real.
Yeah,
'Cause it's still in early access.
The early access should be ending soon, as far as I'm understanding.
I got Devil May Cry 5 here. It's a pretty good, crazy game. But probably the most notable thing about it is if you have the collector's edition, they have the like reference footage that they shot for all the cutscenes.
Oh, okay.
So it's like dudes in a studio, like just sitting in like a chair and like holding a round thing, and that's supposed to be the steering wheel, and it's like really fun, and like really just like, and even inside that they'll have like cheesy graphics and stuff, where they'll just like miniaturize people on a green screen. It's like it's
Cool.
it's all Japanese people, but like most of the people in the game are like white people. So that's pretty good. I still haven't finished it though, but it's kind of you play as like 3 different characters, and every character has a different thing. Like there's one guy, I think his name's just V or Virgil or some shit like that, and like you don't control him. You control him directly, but you don't fight directly yourself. You have like these weird shadow creatures you send out to fight for you, and they build combos, because that game's all about like crazy combos and shooting things in the air and juggling and all that shit. Got Apex Legends. I only have this on here. It's the new hottest battle royale game. So you just 100 people drop into a map, and then you're all trying to kill each other. Here the different thing is it's always a team of 3, and you select from characters, and each character has a different ability. And then you still have to scrounge around for guns and all that stuff. I was only going to mention it here because I thought, because it's free, I was going to be like, hey, we should try this out. But, the only time we'd have to play this is during the show. So,
Well, I did play one match of this. I haven't played more than
Oh, okay. But it's the same guys that do Titanfall, Respawn. And this takes place in the Titanfall universe. So, unfortunately, we're not getting a Titanfall 3 anytime soon, but
we are funneling EA money
yeah.
from this game.
They're getting good money. Well, they have a Star Wars game coming out this year, so
That they'll probably fuck up.
I trust Respawn. Every game they've made has been good.
Oh, I meant EA.
Oh yeah, EA. Yeah, they'll fuck it up.
They already lost $1 billion this year, so might as well.
Trials Rising. It's another Trials game where it's basically like a platformer but with a motorcycle. I love those games, but there's not. Pogo Stuck Rage with Friends, which is this this is part of one of those games where it's like it's intentionally hard to control, and you're just a guy on a pogo stick, and you have to like navigate platforms, and then but like you make one mistake, and you'll fall all the way back to the beginning of the level.
Oh.
So that's why it's called Rage with Friends. And
Oh, that's their subtitle. I thought that was your subtitle.
no.
Oh, okay.
I got Tom Clancy's The Division 2, which is just more The Division, but like it looks nicer and there's like cool guns and shit.
Are you playing it on PC or console?
I'm playing on PC. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. This is the new game from the From Software people who do like Dark Souls and stuff like that, and what's Bloodborne. This is a really fucking cool game. It's pretty hard though, but it's one of those games where like you just get better. It's not that's just kind of like the difficulty of it, because the Dark Souls games you could basically just grind and level up till like enemies weren't too much of a problem anymore. This you have to like parry people and do different kinds of moves, and there's like a cool move. It's called the Makuri counter. There'll be like this like Japanese symbol just flash on screen, and that means like the guy's about to like thrust at you, and there's a specific counter you do to counter a thrust, and you're like basically like, when you counter it, like the dude will take his foot and like push the spear down past him, and then just like fucking cut the dude's head off.
Oh, okay.
That's a really cool game. I'm on the last boss and I haven't beat it, so I have to do that. So the boss is really fucking hard. But it has that crazy, it's a From Software game, so it's like, it's probably more straightforward than other From Software games, but it's still kind of that you have to read into it, and like things are specifically vague for you.
Okay.
I know it's a stupid term, but I remember the thing he talked about was like, because English isn't his native language. Like when he reads a book in English, he only like really understands like a quarter of it, and he kind of has to like create his own story, and that's how he like makes his games. Like he just throws a lot of ideas out there, and it's really for you to mold what you think is going on. He's not really like being explicit with, like, this is what's going on.
Okay, I see.
So people like, there's a lot of like internet activity around these games where people are trying to unpack the story, and basically everything is valid. Nothing.
So it's ultimate fan fiction.
Yeah.
Like this could be, why not?
Got Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. There's a trilogy at least on the Switch, so I picked that up. These are old GBA and 3DS game or DS games where you play a lawyer in the Japanese court system, and you have to like defend your clients. A lot more violent than I expected to be, because it's kind of like this kind of upbeat like story adventure. But like you're like the first two cases, like the two different people are killed with the same clock, like just beaten over the head and bled to death. And I was like, oh, this is a lot more violent than I thought.
Oh, Japanese.
Katana Zero. That's like out on everything, but I played it on the Switch. That is it's a pretty cool game. It has a vibe that's very Hotline Miami.
Okay.
Where it's but it has like a kind of a futuristic, but like 80s nostalgic vibe to it. I can't remember what they call that. Where it's like deep black and neon, that kind of art style.
Oh yeah, there's a name for that shit.
It's like vaporwave or something like that.
Vaporwave. Yeah.
So it has that kind of aesthetic to it, but the game's pretty cool. It's kind of like Hotline Miami, where you have to go through and kind of do the combat puzzle and figure out how to kill everybody on the level without dying yourself. And every time you die, you like restart the level. But what's really cool is the story, because they work in like okay, like when you die and restart the level, that's actually a part of the story.
Oh, okay.
And you can slow down time and stuff like that, and you get further on the story and you realize that they keep talking about this drug, and it's like a time drug.
Time drug.
and you find out like you're a part of some like unit during the war. Like they always mention the war, but they don't really get into specific details.
Just
and
an amorphous war, huh?
yeah, and you were some special forces soldier who took this time drug because like you have a s- you have a special connection somehow where like you can rewind time, so like every time you die you can just like take it back, and not everybody else can do that, so like you're the kind of like a fixed point in time.
Huh.
So that was like a really cool story that I wasn't expecting out of that, because the game's okay, but like the story's really cool.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 11. It's a really the best fighting game story,
Okay.
probably. A lot more emotional depth than I thought of. Because there's
No,
like,
I think Mortal Kombat.
well,
I think emotional depth.
there's a part where it's all fucking with time. So there's a part where you have like Johnny Cage, is like he's like in his 50s now, and he's like meeting like his younger self, and he's like, oh, what a fucking tool I used to be, and there's like kind of this emotional depth that's built in there. Unfortunately, Ronda Rousey is a terrible actor.
Who would have guessed?
Luckily, her character's not in this too much. But yeah, it's the best fighting game, all around package that there is out there. Because it has a great tutorial system where it shows you all this crazy shit you'll never like learn. It's like, this is how many frames this move takes, and like this is why it's safer to do it in this thing. It's like, I would never fucking realize this stuff while playing this game. I just do the moves and things happen.
Yeah.
We got Rage 2, which came out recently. It is a very good playing game, but it is ultimately not a good game.
Is that like the Rage that ID came out with?
Yeah.
A while?
Yep.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a sequel to that. So, this one's made by Avalanche Studio, but it seems to be assisted by id.
Okay.
Because the first-person shooting like feels like the last Doom game, the one that came out in 2016, and it's like really good, and the weapons are cool. But like I beat the game, and there was like 3 weapons I didn't even unlock. Did the game want me to just wander around and find these? Like, when did it point this out? And I didn't. And there was like 2 other abilities, because like you get all these abilities, and you can really just like, the thing is like with just a rifle you can kill everything you need to kill, but like if you like combo all your abilities and stuff and use different weapons, you can just like eviscerate everybody without even taking a hit, which is kind of fun. But yeah, it's kind of repetitive, and story's stupid.
No. Okay.
But yeah, it seemed so. This is made by Avalanche Studio, and they made the Mad Max game that came out like 3 years ago or so.
Yeah, that was a pretty decent game. Got good reviews.
It was okay. It was long in the tooth, but a lot of this it did a good job of displaying the Mad Max universe. Like they took stuff from the Fury Road and kind of incorporated it into the
It's
game.
like you said, Furry Road.
Furry Road. What's your fursona? And so it seemed like, well, but because there's legal trouble with the whole Mad Max series. It feels like they were trying to maybe they were making a sequel to that game, and like that got canceled, and then like Bethesda came to them and like, hey, we got Rage. No one's ever gonna make a Rage game ever again, so why don't you just like cram these games together?
Yeah. Just use this. Make those characters look a little different.
Because it's a first-person shooter, but you do drive around and stuff, and you have guns, and the convoy stuff is kind of cool, but at least it's cool looking. But like once you do it once, like that's every convoy, pretty much.
Oh, so it doesn't really change up enough to maintain your interest.
No.
Okay.
And like it kind of has that interesting art style where they're just like, it's an apocalypse, but we got like fucking green and purple dust all over the place, so it kind of looks, like they spiffied up the apocalypse a little bit.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't really.
Apocalypse.
It doesn't really. That kind of style doesn't play into the story at all. It's just a pretty drab story where people swear a lot and act cool.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
A lot of tough guys.
Yeah. Then I have Days Gone, which is a zombie game from Sony. Where it's essentially Red Dead Redemption, but with zombies and a motorcycle.
Okay.
This has not been reviewed well, and I like the game, but I will tell you not to play it. It does not respect your time. But I think a lot of the so it's not exactly zombies, it's more like 28 days later infected people
Okay.
that are extremely violent. So there's no resurrection. They don't get into specifics on how it actually works because like you start out, things are going crazy. Your wife has been stabbed by some child who's probably infected. You throw her on a helicopter, but like nobody else can go on the helicopter, and so like she goes away, and you just assume she's dead. And then you're now, it's about 2 years later, and you're like up in the Northwest, like basically around Seattle area, and you're in Washington, and you're surviving this apocalypse where there's just like hordes of zombies that come
Yeah.
out. They usually come out during the night to hunt. And that's there's an interesting concept because sometimes you'll just like, I'm gonna fight the horde, which early on like you cannot fight the horde because you don't have enough like ammo to like actually take it out or have enough Molotovs. Although later on when you have enough ammo, it's like headshots are kind of hard, but if there's a group of zombies, you can kind of just like aim slightly at the head level, and you'll just like get 8 headshots without really aiming. So that's fun. But yeah, there'll be a zombie horde, and they always like kind of each horde has like a home that's usually in a cave somewhere. Which the caves are terrible. Their nests are terrible because they're just covered in shit because like that's how they identify themselves. Like, oh, we're not going to eat each other because we're covered in shit. And our nests are covered in shit, so we know where our home is. And then they go out and like, and there's like mass burial sites where like if they can't hunt things, like they'll just dig up graves and just eat people. It's like it's pretty crazy. But also you see animals in there's 3 kinds of wildlife. You have wolves, deer, and bears. And like they'll fucking go after deer. I was like, that's fucking awesome. Because I wrote that in a zombie movie once, like, because you never see zombies like just trying to eat animals. Like they just go after humans, presumably brains. But like they should be attacking anything.
Well, I mean, the Walking Dead TV show and the comic did that a few times with like squirrels and rabbits and shit, or deer that they got to. But yeah, it's not prevalent, unfortunately.
But here, like, that'd be something that'd be hard to film somewhat, but like, because this is a video game, like, you can just make that happen. So you'll just fucking see zombies fighting wildlife, like, occasionally as you're scooting across the landscape on a motorcycle.
Well, I mean, it'd be cool to have like a giant elk with this big fucking rack of antlers, like 2 dead people.
Yeah.
Like fucking on it, just like going, like while it fucking runs away. Like, that's a very good image, and I know there was a lot of hype around it because of how they touted like the AI for the zombies and the horde mechanics, but also just how good the graphics looked and the gameplay was supposed to be with maintaining your bike and kind of keeping up your supplies and stuff like that. A very survival type apocalypse game.
Yeah.
But most of the reviews have said the same thing you said that I've watched or paid attention to, where it's like, oh, we like this game. It's not good, though. It's like, it's just enjoyable. Like, it gets old after a while because the story's not really that good, or it's not original, and the gameplay gets kind of stale because it's like, oh, yeah, you find these camps, and it's the same fucking camp pretty much every time. And it's like games seem to have that problem, where it's like, oh, look at all these special missions we have for you. Oh, but if you're okay with doing the same special mission over and over again with slightly different graphical settings.
Pretty much. Well, the thing that really got me interested in this is I heard this from multiple people. They said that like the story isn't good, but it's well acted, which I've never heard that about a video game before.
It's kind of like hearing the porn isn't good, but it is well acted.
Because usually that just goes hand in hand. If the story's poor, the acting's poor as well. It's like nobody developed. It's like, it's a video game. We're not making stories here. But here it's Sam.
The voice acting's very good.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty seasoned voice actor. He's been on television. He was in Battlestar Galactica, and he's just and it's all that stuff where he's like talking to himself. you'll help this one guy out, and he's basically a truther, and because like the horrible people have ended up the best in this apocalypse because they just hoarded food and guns and ammo and stuff, and they ended up on top. And so there's one guy who's basically a truther, and like he'll get on the radio that you help him put up, and he's like, don't believe the lies. And he's like talking about the government and stuff like that. And every time he like says something, he'll just like rebel. He's like, yeah, that's how it works, John. You fucking idiot. And the only time he agrees with me, he's like talking about like the Second Amendment. It's like, it's your right. And he's like, yeah, sure wish I had a lot more guns right now.
And then he starts talking about chemtrails. And everybody just goes, ah.
But your character doesn't agree with the truther guy, but
No.
Someone to talk to. Huh?
well, no, like you don't even talk to him. You just hear him on the radio. It's like a little, like as you're out just doing things. Like sometimes he'll come on the radio, and then he'll like talk to himself about like how that whatever he's saying on the radio is fucking stupid.
Oh.
Did you ever see the SNL skit like a couple weeks ago with Kit Harington where it's like this fake VR like zombie apocalypse shooting game that they have or Pete Davidson go through or whatever. And so it's just like he starts the game and it's like, wow, these graphics are intense. Like it looks real. And it was like him talking to Kit Harington as like the base leader or whatever. It's like, we have a swarm heading towards us. I need you to gear up and get in that room now and stop this wave. And he's like, all right. And then he goes to the mission desk or whatever. And then it's one of the other SNL alums sitting there. And it's like, hey, you know what Troy said about me not running the base? That's false. Like, I help him run the base all the time. And it's like, and then he's like, I just want to skip this. Why the fuck? Like, I don't give a shit about this crap. And then it's like, oh, just press X or whatever. And then it just lets, like, you know, a dialogue box pop up and he skips it. And he's like, okay, fine, the weapon room's over there. And then, like, he starts running and, like, this woman NPC, like, stops him. It's like, so what's the deal with Troy? And it's like, what's going on with him? And it's like, skip. And it's like, fine, we'll talk later. We'll dish or whatever. And then he, like, gets to what's labeled the emergency prep room, and it's really a bathroom, and like leader guy pulls him in. It's like, did Troy tell you I don't run this base? 'Cause that's fucking bullshit. It's like he tries to take credit for my ideas and blah blah, and then he just like skip, and it's like God, I just want to fucking kill something already. And then he almost gets to the weapons room, and then it's like they put a sign on the door saying meeting and we're hashing our problems out. And it's just the two guys like arguing in the room with the door locked. And he's like, fuck it, I'm going out without a gun. And then he just gets fucking mauled alive in 5 seconds or whatever. It was like, this game sucks. It's like I don't know.
Just a game consumed with the minutia of human
Yeah, I don't really. In the Days Gone, I don't really understand how the zombie stuff works or how the plague works or whatever. It's a virus. They say specifically it's a virus, but I feel like it was like there's not like a danger of being infected, not at least with the people you're with.
Well, they made it sound like the narration of the game says that part's already passed and nobody can get infected anymore. It's just
well, then you have you have these. They're called NERO. It's like National Emergency Response Organization. And they'll come in and they're like doing tests on stuff because like a helicopter comes in and it's like, you know, still like this advanced helicopter, and everybody thought like the government's dead, like nobody's operating anymore, and they're just like, it's all just apocalypse. So that's where they're like, what the fuck's going on here? There's actually like people doing shit out there, and they're doing research on things, and they come out and they have like full hazmat suits because they're afraid of getting infected. So don't know.
Huh.
But there's no fear, at least from the characters you play, there's no fear of infection. It's like it was either you're infected or you're not. They do say that like it would kill children mostly, and old people like definitely. So but also yeah, there are children zombies in this game that you are expected to kill.
It's not a real life child, so
Yeah. But that was like a lot of people had misgivings with it because like one of the first things you do in the game is kill a fucking zombie child.
Well, did anybody really get up in arms when Walking Dead did that in the first fucking episode of their first season? Where they had, I mean, it wasn't visible as like an actual scene where he's just like putting a bullet through her head, but it heavily implied from the gunshot and her body falling in shadow that she killed a child or whatever, like
Yeah.
a child zombie. So
This is Patrick Klepek, and it was kind of his impressions on it. Like he, like a new, a new parent. So that
Oh.
kind of like affected him a bit more than probably he would if he wasn't a parent.
Oh, okay.
But it's just kind of like shitty. It's like, oh, the first thing you're gonna do in this game is kill a child.
well, I can't say it's not a not interesting move. Yeah.
But yeah, Days Gone. I enjoyed the atmosphere of it. I don't think it's necessarily a very good game.
Huh. Well, it's a cool looking game.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's like Red Dead Redemption, but like with a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And Red Dead Redemption 2, wasn't really that great of a game. It just kind of had a lot of, its atmosphere was fantastic, and a lot of its performance and all that shit was fantastic, but like the gameplay of it kind of blew.
Well, I don't. Especially, I know Iray is really frustrated with the online part because it had a lot of potential to be better than its predecessor in that department. I mean, I still haven't gotten past like the halfway point in the game, so I can't speak to the end game. But so far, I found it's fulfilling, but it's not at the same time. Like, it's very open world, and it's great to go everywhere you want to go. And it seems like you can get lost for hours, but really, it's just
Well, yeah, I had like cool moments when I like went up in the mountains and just like found shit,
yeah.
and it wasn't even like a story mission or anything. I just like found some shit. It's like that's cool. Or like you find the geysers and stuff like that, like up in the mountains. Like that was a really cool area. But like some of the gameplay is, like that was the in the Giant Bomb Game of the Year thing. That was it was like on their Game of the Year list, but it was also on their most disappointing list. And that was the main argument that Dan had with everybody else. It's like we can't have a game on our Game of the Year list also be on our most disappointing list. And and then he's just trying to like, from what I expected of this game, this is the most disappointing game I have ever played. And he's not saying it's a bad game. He's just saying like what he expected from it. He was very disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess I
My
didn't really.
son's always talking about having to play a card game in it. So
Oh.
Yeah, you can play. Yeah, you can play cards.
Yeah, they have a lot of mini games that just like Colin said. The game's almost more rewarding just going off and finding shit and just having your own little adventure sometimes. The story missions, most of them are well done. Some of them are kind of shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Rockstar has always been that way. Not every. I mean, I think what's the best reviewed Rockstar game? Isn't it basically the last Grand Theft Auto one?
Probably. I mean, they've had in like the last 6 years, it's been Grand Theft Auto and this game. That's all they put out because they make so much money off of the last Grand Theft Auto. The online stuff is just.
Well, I guess I used to
Crazy.
remember when they used to make stuff like Manhunt and other crap.
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
At the same time, I mean, not that they don't have to make whatever they want. They got enough fucking money. They don't really need to choose. But it'd be nice if they had like some other. I don't think they've ever done anything besides just basically first or third person stuff, have they? I don't think.
I
they've
mean,
done-
Rockstar has, yeah, but it's like, but like, that's the stuff they're known for. They've done like table tennis games, like that was fucking stupid. They did like a mech game one time, but that was like back in the Dreamcast era. Like they used to do a lot more stuff, but like once they hit with Grand Theft Auto, then they just make Grand Theft Auto. But I mean, I think this was their San Diego studio, because like they made the previous Red Dead game, and I believe they actually made the first Red Dead game, the one that Capcom put out, Red Dead Revolver.
Probably.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not, but like Red Dead Revolver basically has nothing to do with Red Dead Redemption other than like setting. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 is kind of like a prequel. But yeah, there's I forget what was so frustrating about Red Dead Redemption 2. I think it just felt like the things I invested in didn't always. There was no return. There was no return on investment on everything you did in that game.
Just a lot of stuff to do and
I mean,
like second level power out of it or something.
Yeah.
Huh?
well, I found like investing in the camp didn't seem to pay any dividends.
Nope.
I mean, it's just like, oh, here's a way to waste your money instead of buying like cool shit.
Yeah.
But even buying cool shit, there's only so many guns you can buy, and then after that, it's just aesthetics, or I guess health items that I mean, it's basically like the more you spend, just like any other Rockstar game, and the better the healing or whatever it does. But there's not really a lot to the game. Once you have a really good horse and you stable it, or find a couple good horses once in a while, like you don't really have to buy that ever again.
Well, then there's like they promised stuff where like the random encounters, like there'd be so many you'd never like encounter the same one twice, and then just like immediately you encounter like the first one you encounter is the second one you encounter is like, well, that didn't work at all.
Yeah, the guy that just stands by the side of the road asking for help and just try and steal your horse, like fell for it the first time. After that, I just shot him in the head.
Oh yeah, that was the greatest one. Like Dan was talking about like those side missions would pop up, and then like Dan was talking about like he just wanted to finish the game. He was so frustrated. So anytime like someone would pop up with like, "Hey, Mister, I need your help," just bam, right in the head. Just move on. Get the fuck out of my way. But yeah, there was like there's stuff I didn't because there's like funny stuff with the clan that you'll find where like it always becomes a folly of errors where the clan always ends up be like setting themselves on fire and stuff like that while trying to burn across and stuff. But there's like 8 of those but I only saw one. And like I saw how it played out. Well, the first time I saw them, I just killed them immediately. It's like, oh good, I get to kill the Ku Klux Klan. Who doesn't want to do that? But because I killed them all, it like reset again. So when I came through that area again, they were doing the same scene, and then I let it play it out, and that's when they accidentally set themselves on fire. But there was like more stuff of that where there's just like they're just like cartoonish characters that like always, them trying to spew their hate and hurt people. They end up like just hurting themselves,
Shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
I mean, the enemies do the same thing they have in every Rockstar game, though. They don't overwhelm you with smarts; they overwhelm you with numbers.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of disappointing in that regard too, because you said the one before I even tried the game, like, oh yeah, if your one level got high enough, basically you might wander into town and wander into ambush and get shot to death.
Yeah.
And it's like that got my hopes up for like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. I actually kind of like that idea of like the more wanted you get, like the more you get noticed, and the more they try and trap you with elaborate schemes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then
because it's not like in Grand Theft Auto, where you get like a 5-star police rating and like they basically send the army after you.
Yeah.
And like there's almost like no way to come back from that other than like,
hide in some glitch spot and wait for the 5-star
Yeah.
to go away.
So like here it'll be like the police will chase you for a bit, but then they'll just like you can get away. And then it's like, the 5-star rating goes down. But they don't forget that you did that. So
Yeah.
there'll be sometimes you'll just be coming through an area and like the police has set an ambush for you.
Oh, okay.
And you're like, what the fuck? And there's like one time I saw it seemed like they shot me with a Gatling gun, because usually like, oh, I'll throw it in Deadeye mode and that's like slow motion so you can like shoot everybody. Like I didn't even have a chance to do that. Like there was like 20 rifles unloaded on me at once. I was immediately dead.
Huh.
So that was kind of interesting and also super fucking frustrating because they killed my horse, my really expensive horse I fucking bought.
So I've only had thieves in the game be elaborate and try and like come at all sides and ambush you and take you by surprise and stuff. I haven't had the cops do it yet.
Well, it was in the Saint Denis, which is basically the New Orleans. You can go into stores and find like side missions. So like I did a hold up at like a gun store where they had like a card game in the back, and I was like robbing the card game.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, for some reason it didn't go right. I can't remember what, it was stupid. And then the cops were chasing me, and I was like doing like a foot chase on the roof. I ended up killing like something like 200 police officers, and then got out of there.
Killed the whole city as a police officer.
Yes. And then I came back later on, and then like my rating was down, and that's like when one randomly like the cops just ambushed me at a point. It's like, oh, this is probably gonna keep happening if I don't like buy off my wanted level. So I just like spend a bunch of money to pay down my wanted level. Or not wanted, what do we call that? It's just there's bounty on you. And you have different counties have different bounties, depending on what town you fucking.
I usually just like avoid the county I did the crime in for a long time until I have the money to pay it or want to pay it.
But yeah, that's video games.
All right. Well, we watched a movie this week. Well, some of us did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Andrew couldn't be bothered, or not bothered. Couldn't get through it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, technically you could say that I couldn't be bothered to finish a movie I had no interest in because I hate it. So I mean, yeah, you could say that.
We watched the 1999 Magnolia,
From Paul Thomas Anderson.
Paul Thomas Anderson joint.
Good old PTA,
Yeah.
Parent Teacher Association.
Yeah, and he must have been like, because I watched an interview with him. He must have been like 25 when he made this movie.
I mean, which is great for somebody that young to make the movie of this scale.
Well, he has 2 movies. Before this, he had Boogie Nights, and before that, he had was it like?
Oh, he made Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
How
Was-
the fuck did he make this movie?
Was it Hard 8? That was his first movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hard 8.
Okay, so I've seen all of his movies and apparently only disliked Magnolia so far.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, okay. I guess I don't see how he gets from Boogie Nights to that and then goes. Shit, what was the next one after that?
Magnolia.
Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah,
Nights
Punch Drunk
of
Love.
Love.
Which I know is weird, but it's an acceptable weird when I can actually follow it.
Yeah.
That's my main thing with cinema. Like, Terry Gilliam's probably the most off-the-wall, like, director that I'll watch a whole movie of, because just the way he presents the story and the way he has, like... I don't know if it's his decision or the director of photography's decision for, like, all of his shots and how it's, you know, put together and stuff, but, like, it's a very... Like, his new Don Quixote movie I want to see. I just haven't watched it yet. So, anyway.
But yeah,
It seems like after Boogie Nights, they gave him a blank check to make a movie, and like he like was up in a cabin and just like wrote this.
Dropped a bunch of LSD.
yeah, this was an odd movie to watch.
Yeah.
Considering I like this director and the stuff he does, it was kind of I don't know.
And this was like kind of critically acclaimed. Like Roger Ebert really loved this movie.
Well, there was nothing wrong with it.
The runtime.
Well, I mean, there was nothing like, not one particular.
I think there's a lot of great performances.
Yeah.
I just don't care about most of the stories.
Yeah.
And being that most of the stories are like repeated in weird ways, which I guess that was supposed to be the artistic hook.
Yeah.
Where it's like all these connections, like we're gonna tell 5 different stories and they're gonna connect somehow.
Yeah, it's like there's not one thing I can say is wrong with this movie other than I didn't like it a whole lot.
Yeah.
This is something I'll never. I mean, there's some interesting things that happen. It had a cool soundtrack.
I didn't care for the singing scene.
I kind of thought I sort of liked that just because it was like, oh, it's a way it ties all the people.
The thing I like about it is like, it's a way like when I write things, like I use music and then like I have the music too much directly influence what I'm writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like sometimes people make music choices in movies and it's like it's too on the nose, and here it's so on the fucking nose that the characters are singing exactly what's happening to them.
Yeah. Which I didn't mind it. In light of everything else that was going on, it was like, oh, okay. I mean, the best performance in the movie, I don't.
Well, Tom Cruise is usually cited as like, oh, this is a exceptional performance from Tom Cruise in this.
Yeah,
movie.
well, I mean, he's one of them for sure. I kind of like the John C. Reilly.
Yeah, I
guy.
like John C. Reilly the most.
He seemed like the most.
Although
'cause
his story is maybe the weird. Well, I don't know. It's like it starts out like it's like, ma'am, it's like this black woman with a dead guy in her apartment, and like that is, and they talk about the worm, and then like he gets shot at some point, but like I guess that whole sub story was cut.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't really important. It's like, oh, there could have been another 20 minutes to this fucking movie.
We could make it 4 hours. Yeah.
I don't know why people disregard John C. Reilly as a serious actor, because that's what he has been most of his career.
Well, I mean, he's a Paul Thomas Anderson like mainstay.
Yeah.
Like he didn't really become a comedic actor until like a little bit after this movie.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, I mean, he's probably
what he's-
always been a comedic actor, but like he's like, you know, I first remember him from like Boogie Nights and stuff like that. And then
Yeah. and he's
apparently he was in Days of Thunder, but I don't remember that at all.
been- Yeah, he was. He doesn't really look like himself that much in that movie, but yeah, he's like one of the crew members or whatever. And
Yeah.
then he's in like Gangs of New York and Stan and Ollie and
Yeah.
each other. He's in a lot of good movies as far as dramatic acting goes. and I don't know what she prefers. I mean, I know he really loves working with Will Ferrell.
Because I remember that's what my first impressions of when he started doing comedy was like, oh, this is a dramatic actor that can do comedy. That's surprising. But actually, I don't know his origin. Like maybe he started out as like just an actor and whatever, or maybe a comedian. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. Yeah, he's fun to watch. He's one of those guys. He's fun to watch. I don't know much about him. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Tom Cruise probably gave the most dramatic performance. The most. I like how he's like a prototype. You know, one of these guys, like the man-hater groups they have now.
Yeah, he seems
like a prototype for that.
He's like a walking. He's like a walking message board for like a men's rights group.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this was the Tom Cruise like weird days when he went away from action and just did serious roles. Because was Jerry Maguire was before this, right?
Yeah, that was like 97.
And Vanilla Sky was after this.
Yes. Yeah. And then Eyes Wide Shut in this in the same year.
In the same year, yeah. And this was Tom Cruise and his like weird serious actor type. I'm gonna play dark, unlikable characters.
He got an Oscar nod for this. So.
Oh yeah, I mean he did a great job. I didn't. This is one of those movies that was like imperfect in a lot of ways, but it was still better than most movies. Like it's one of those deals where it's like, I can kind of see why someone would like this. I just don't get. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's. If you like want to make an argument like why it's important, like I could see it, but like I don't care, so it just feels like pretentious nonsense.
Well, this movie is what I would call what's that term? Like the overhyped melodramatic.
Yeah.
Dramatic for dramatic's sake. It's like, oh, we had to make the daughter's dad a child molester. Like, really? He couldn't just be a bad father. Like the theme in this movie is like, oh, your parents suck. Your dads are all bad. And it's like, okay, that's your theme. Except for but most of it was that. And
it's also like this weird recursive thing where it's like there's one story going on, but simultaneously you're seeing different points of like the same person's story.
Yeah.
One thing they didn't make clear, but I saw it in the comments or in the trivia, was that this all takes place like within a block of each other on the same street. Like that's where these things all connect. It's like these people are like all on the same street essentially. But
I knew it was in the same place in Southern California. I didn't know it was the same street, like proximity.
Yeah, that's like all this occurs on the same street. Which that was supposed to be like the kind of like the weird thing that like these people are living out the kind of like the same story, but they don't even know each other, but like they're on the same street.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie starts out with killing Patton Oswalt. So.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Like, that's fucking Patton Oswalt. He looks like he's about 14. There he is.
It's like I don't think Patton Oswalt would scuba dive a whole lot, but
yeah,
you never know.
It's a weird story.
Yeah,
there's a weird story about connectivity of events and.
There's also weird stuff. There's that weird thing of Philip Seymour Hoffman where he's on the phone talking about like, this is one of those moments like in movies where like there's a special connection. Like I think that's why they put it in movies because it's real. I was like, no, fuck you.
Yeah, it was stuff like that. Okay, come on. I know you're better than this. I mean, Christ, you adapted a Pynchon novel into a fucking movie. I know you can. I know you're better than this.
But like I also read some things where I guess Thomas Anderson, like his dad was like a famous radio announcer, and so like a lot of this movie's like personal to him. I don't think his dad was like a child molester or anything like that, but like I think this somehow was weirdly personal to him in some way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he did an hour-long interview with Charlie Rose I watched too in prep for this. And he kind of was making it clear. He's like, really, I've said what I'm going to say in this movie and about this movie. It's kind of like his thing. It's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk it to death. It is what it is. Watch it. If you like it, fine. If you don't, okay. it's not your thing. You know, see, there seem to be because I've never heard of there being a director's cut or an extended edition of this movie. Just make it a 5-hour, you know.
The director's cut, just all the film footage, not even edited, just right back to back.
Just raw footage.
This is the real story. Well, I guess I heard something like on a Mark Maron podcast he did. He said he would trim it down nowadays. Like he still says like this is his favorite movie of himself.
Yeah.
Like you know, like, so, you know, he made this movie for himself, but he would still trim it down. Today he would trim it down.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen the Phantom Thread yet, so I don't know, like, if this is my least favorite.
Oh, is that his late, or is that his latest movie, or?
I think so. Yeah, that was one Daniel Day-Lewis's last movie.
Oh,
Oh, man.
okay.
That's
I still haven't seen There Will Be Blood and
Oh, you got to watch There Will Be Blood. It's one of my favorites. One of my top 10s.
And then after that, you gotta watch Doubt, just so so you can hear.
Nah, I watched that episode of AP Bio. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Inherent Vice is cool. The Master's cool, but it's demanding. It's like it will test your patience with a movie, but just when you're about ready to hit the stop button, then something will happen. It's like, okay, I'm back in.
See, the only reason I didn't watch The Master is because I don't like Philip Seymour Hoffman that much, and I never really liked him as an actor, so I didn't really want to watch him as the main protagonist of that movie.
Yeah, well, if
I thought
Seymour Hoffman, don't watch it.
Oh wait, no, I guess not. I guess he was one of the main actors. I don't think he was the
okay,
protagonist.
because I thought fucking
Joaquin
Joaquin
Phoenix.
Phoenix was the main.
Yeah, I think I'm just confusing it with Capote because that came around the same.
Well, is he in that movie? Is Philip Seymour Hoffman in The Master?
Yeah, he plays L. Ron Hubbard. Or
Okay, that's what I thought.
Supposed to be.
You know, enough to be not sued.
Yeah. Well, enough that what's his name? Tom Cruise will never work with him again. Supposedly, I don't know.
No worries. You're not missing out on much.
Yeah.
Then you have the whole raining frogs bit, which was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's
'Cause that
that's one of those things that's explained and that like is a real phenomenon, but it hasn't happened in so long.
well,
It's
there's
almost
even,
like
there's even that stuff with the stories in the beginning, where like
Yeah.
none of those stories are true. Like they're urban legends, and one of them is just like a
No.
hypothetical for like law students.
yeah,
Like the one where the kid jumps to his death and gets shot by his mom on the way down.
yeah. And there was a life-saving net at the bottom, so
Yeah.
technically his mom killed him, even though he was trying to kill himself. He was the agent of his death, so she's answerable for it.
But yeah, I thought just the frog scene was just like, because you have all these disparate stories that are being connected slightly to each other, but not all together, and that was the one event that connects all the stories together,
Yeah.
and it's stupid. We're gonna keep the one guy from killing himself, but then we're gonna set the house on fire.
Yeah, he's going to be unconscious and burn alive. That'll make it better. They don't say that happens, but I can only assume. This movie only cost $40 million to make. That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess at that time, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably mostly just Tom Cruise's salary.
I probably didn't take a whole lot.
He didn't take a
Oh,
lot.
really?
This was his weird phase.
Well, this is after Eyes Wide Shut, so he probably wanted to do anything other than that at that
Oh.
point.
Clean my palate. Clean my palate. Still looks about the same age today, too. He did that.
Yeah. He weirdly looks like a wrestler on NXT. It kind of looks like Adam Cole in this movie.
Yeah, he's a little more jacked in this than you think Tom Cruise would be, but he might just actually look
Well,
like
there's also that part where he's basically just naked.
Yeah. And he's standing there in his underwear in front of that woman that's interviewing him. Now, was he supposed to have socks stuffed in his pants? Was that supposed to be a joke? Or
I don't know.
yeah, because it looked like, oh, this guy's like, what's he doing? Wrapping his cock in a sock to make it his underwear was bulging out. Is he like embracing the role of this misogynist character? There's Tom Cruise hung like a horse. And how is it going to affect our life?
So
Yeah, for me, a borderline pretentious movie that was too dramatic and didn't really connect with me. And normally I like really pretentious stuff. I'm a big fan of like.
I mean, we did just come off of Titus, and this movie was still pretentious and boring. Well,
Yeah.
I would say Titus is boring, but it is. These are both kind of. They have a wacky sensibility, and but this one, it's like, it just seems like PTA did David Lynch wrong.
Yeah. Well, the problem with this is, weirdly, like, for some of the subject matter, like, it's not dark enough. It's like weirdly upbeat, even though there's horrible shit going on.
Well, it's kind of. It presents a lot of like dour things that people have to like live with, but it's not saying anything. It's like, oh, look at this horrible thing. Now look at this
Yeah.
horrible thing. It's not. But there's not only any ultimate message, other than like,
Life is terrible.
yeah, for everybody.
This is how you die. Oh, Jason Robards' last performance was in this movie, too.
Yeah, as a dying man.
Yeah.
He ironically died of lung cancer.
Well, he was dying while this movie was.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Yeah, he knew he was like stage 4. I was trying to make some weird connection. It's like his father was the doctor in the end of the day after, but he traveled through some kind of wormhole where the war didn't happen, but he's still living with the effect. It's just sometimes things like that click in my mind. Like, how could I make this more interesting?
I thought there was an interesting bit of trivia. I don't know if it's true, but there's that part where Tom Cruise is basically crying, or actually he says, "I'm not gonna cry," and like everything after that point was just pure Tom Cruise. Like that was nothing after that point was written.
Yeah.
Because Tom Cruise felt like what was written wasn't gonna work. Then they cut to a reaction of Philip Seymour Hoffman where he like just starts crying, and like that wasn't like a part of his character. That was just Philip Seymour Hoffman reacting to Tom Cruise acting.
That, or he went and shot some heroin.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I've always been kind of angry at Philip Seymour Hoffman for that, because I really like him as an actor, and I like to see him act, and then he just fucking ODs on heroin, which is like, that's terrible. Why are you doing that? Stop doing that.
Because he had doubt.
He certainly did. 6 feet of it.
But yeah, this movie was critically acclaimed, not financially successful at all, and it was nominated for a bunch and didn't win anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was out there.
So basically, it's like every year's Oscar buzz movie where it's like, yeah, I guess I could see why people might like this, but it's actually not very good. It's an all-around movie.
Well, it's cute. It's like it's hard because it's like it's a well-produced movie with good acting, just curiously written and edited.
Yeah, I mean, for kind of a non-linear, weird story where they basically show you the last 5 minutes of the movie after the intro to the movie, after the weird storytelling in the intro, they basically show you where everyone's going to end up, and then they show the movie, and it's very disjointed in how the story's told, but it's well enough crafted that you can follow right along with it. Like, it doesn't lead you to any, just like, what the fuck does this do? I didn't get a lot of that, but it's just, again, there's something about it that I can't put my finger on where I just didn't feel very connected to this movie. It's like, this is dramatic. These are horrible stories, and I don't give a fuck.
But also, I heard like this kind of mixed reaction to it, and it's probably why I never watched it.
Yeah.
But I know about it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, the thing is, I know this guy's a great filmmaker. I mean,
Yeah.
he's made movies that I love. And I can't exactly put my finger on why I think There Will Be Blood is a cool movie. It's just a bleak character study of horrible people. But it also, there's a lot of truth in it. And also, Inherent Vice wasn't bad for an adaptation of a Pynchon novel, which, if you've ever read Tom and Pynchon, you're like, what the fuck? And I've read a lot of dense shit, even stuff written in for other languages. And when I read Gravity's Rainbow, I was like, "What am I reading? This woman just fucked a horse. They just had an orgy on a boat. This guy who made the V2 rockets having sex with a little girl. What the hell am I reading?" So yeah, I know how.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was starting to get into Gravity's Rainbow, and I was having that weird disconnect. And I was like, didn't Nathan recommend this book to me?
oh, I recommend it. It's a great book, but it is a hard book. And all his books are.
It's like there's a war going on, but like there's like a blob that's killing people, and there's like soldiers just stuck in the blob, and they don't know what to do.
Yeah. And everywhere this guy has sex, a V2 rocket crashes a day later, and they're like trying to figure out why. The second part of the book, once he gets to Europe, it picks up a little bit. But yeah, it's just random, incoherent. It's all postmodernism. Mark Maron has a great rant about postmodernism you should listen to because it's absolutely true. And actually, you can see a lot of the weirdest shit in our world going on right now. Is like, oh, this coming from this shit. Okay, yeah, this is what we're doing. Because no one really agrees what postmodernism is, but you know it when you see it. It's one of those things. It's like, oh, okay. So, and then after you read Gravity's Rainbow, read White Noise by Don DeLillo, and just have a summer. Just, go crazy, right around your bike. Listen to this stuff, and it's like, this is poignant. Why? But then you keep coming back to it. It's like, I know I like this because I can't read Dune for the 95th time. So, yeah. So yeah. Anyway, this guy knows how to tell a story and make a movie, but this one just didn't connect, and I don't know why. So. Any more thoughts, ideas on this?
No, not on this, but I was like, it's like looking at, Chris Rock is rebooting the Saw franchise.
Well, that sounds intriguing. Serious?
Do you know
Yeah.
Robert Pattinson is Batman?
Oh yeah. Let's see if that gets made.
Yeah.
And the Penguin and Catwoman are his villains in his first movie.
F1 check-in. Mercedes continues to dominate, and the season's basically over.
Okay.
Good check-in.
5 races in a row, the Mercedes have come in 1 and 2. So the only hopes for the rest of the field is that the like last year, or I think it's 2 years ago, the Mercedes crashed themselves out of the race, but that seems like they probably won't do that this year. Although there's hope. The next race is Monaco, and that's a weird race. Because that's like a grandfathered race. Because it's actually like a super, like, not safe race. Like, if they were making a race today, they would never put it in Monaco because there's too many safety hazards. But it's very short and it's very slow, so that's the thing that keeps it from having horrible things happen. But basically, there's no passing, so the race is pretty much entirely dependent on qualifying. So whoever gets the pole position is pretty much going to win the race, and that'll probably be Mercedes. Good thing, but this last race, which was in Spain, the Haas team, both of them were in the top 10, so that was good. Where they've either been not finishing or they've been in the bottom 10, so maybe Haas is on the come up, and Haas is the only American team in the F1. Fine purveyor of CNC machines. AEW got a television deal. They are going to be
really?
they are going to be on TNT. So that's who showed WCW back in the day when they had the Monday Night Wars. Although they will not be directly competing with WWE, they're probably going to be on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
And then their first show under their own banner, AEW, is next weekend on Double or Nothing. You can get it on regular pay-per-view, or you can get it on Warner Media Bleacher Report Live. So yeah, I bought that there. 'Cause usually they do stuff on Fight TV, but I guess because this is going through Warner Media, they wanted to use their own streaming system. So hopefully that fucking works. So actually, yeah, I took next Saturday off just to watch the show.
No.
Which I think it starts at 7 my time, so might be starting the podcast a little late. Because I actually don't know if I can replay it or if it's just like see it live or not.
Huh.
Because with the fight stuff, you can just like you buy it and then you can watch it anytime you want. You don't have to.
Oh, okay. So you're not bound to like you have this viewing window and then.
So I don't think that's going to be the case, but I have no idea. I try to look up their like frequently asked questions section, and it's not. It says some events are delayed taped, so after the event is concluded, a recording of the event will be available to you afterwards. But they made it sound like that doesn't include every event on the service, so I have no idea. But anyways.
Okay, well that sounds cool.
So yeah, their TV show will come out in October, and that'll be a 2-hour show on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. So catch it.
Catch it live. See, I'm reading a new book right now. I'm reading Zhen's. I'm not going to say this right. It's Chinese. I'm reading Wu Zhuan's Three-Body Problem. I'm sure you've heard of that one.
Nope.
I'm assuming it's a book about how creating threesomes is really hard.
No, it isn't. But it's about quantum physics, but and aliens and simulation theory and a bunch of other things. Well, he's a Chinese writer, and he's one of those guys that's like, I write science fiction. Oh, by the way, I have like a PhD in computer science too. One of those guys, you know, like the guy we have here that's an actor and a real doctor. Because his parents wanted him to be a doctor, and he went to medical school. He's like, okay, I'm going to be an actor now. This guy is a guy who writes science fiction. I've heard it's a pretty famous book, and it's remarkably weird and compelling at the same time. So I'm only a third of the way through it. I'll keep you posted.
All right.
I forget where I first heard about it, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
Because I think I picked up 2 new books recently, but I haven't read any of them.
Which ones did you get?
That's what I'm looking at now. It's one I believe is this called with like a shit. Who's the guy that wrote the Chernobyl book, the Midnight in Chernobyl?
Higginbotham.
So he has another book called like 1,000 Pounds of Dynamite.
Okay.
So I picked that up. It's like a really short story. Like the audiobook's like 2 hours long. So.
Oh, okay.
So, but it's about a guy in the 80s. He owes someone money, so he builds a bomb to try to ransom it out of like the guys he owes monies to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 1,000 Pounds of Dynamite by.
This is Audible.
Okay, no, don't play it. By Adam Higginbotham. And then the other one I got is
This is Audible.
nope. Heads Will Roll by Kate McKinnon and Emily Lynn. It's from Saturday Night Live.
Okay, I was going to say Kate McKinnon. That's that actress from Saturday Night Live.
And it's like a full cast, and it seems to be a comedic like story set in like medieval times esque. Well, there's like trolls, and so it's like what do you call that? High fantasy.
Tolkien times.
Yeah, stuff like that. So it's like
Things and elves and trolls. Yeah.
but yeah, they have like a whole cast list of. Each chapter has like a cast of people doing the book. So it's an Audible original, so like they keep throwing it at me and it has good reviews, which are probably false. So, but I just picked it up just because so Audible will stop putting it in my face.
Huh. You have to tell me how that is.
And then Andrew's
Oh, go ahead.
Andrew's almost done with Caliban's War.
Oh, good.
Been a pretty quick read. Well, especially since I have time before work, time during work, and time after work to read it. But yeah, no, it's it's definitely not as compelling as the first novel as far as events go, and I mean there are some pretty interesting things that go on in the book. I mean, obviously, the relationship between Holden and his crew seems kind of weird. I thought because this is kind of like he's becoming another Miller or a version of Miller, and that's what people are pissed about. And it's kind of like, yeah, he didn't really seem he was like that out of control, but at the same time, I guess Holden was my favorite character in the first book, so I don't really remember enough about him to like really make comparisons between the two. Like I know he was more kind of like ask a lot of questions and then finally shoot. In the first book, he seemed to be more dragging his feet on stuff, and now he's more proactive and seems to tackle the problem.
He's all doors and corners.
Well, yeah, he's all doors and corners, but the thing is, there's certain points in the novel where it's like he could have just fucking killed people, but instead he like tried to sit down and have a conversation with them, and that was before like Naomi like has a fight with him and like breaks up with him basically and shit. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't seem like he's completely gone or whatever. So I just think, kind of just made me think Naomi was kind of a bitch. And it's like, oh, it's not you anymore. I can't be with you. And it's like, yeah, you just seem like you're picking a fight for no reason.
That character dynamic kind of makes it's a good seed for what comes later on.
Well, I was sure they're gonna
Not like the Holden and Naomi, the whole Holden and Miller thing.
Yeah.
It comes back to be a thing.
Well, it's something where it's like, yeah, I understand they're trying to develop the character more, and now there's I'm not gonna pronounce her name or shit. There's Avasarala or whatever on Earth with Bobby.
Avasarala.
Avasarala.
I can't remember. Avasarala?
Christian Avasarala.
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, there's her subplot, which is interesting sometimes, not that interesting other times. There's Prax, which is probably my least favorite character out of the novel. And, like, I understand, like, I get his motivation, and I like what he brings to the table as far as story advancement, but as him as a character, I just don't understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, like, it hasn't been a bad book. It's just there's been more lulls in it that I would care for. The first book didn't seem to have many lulls where I was kind of just like, oh, I kind of want to get to the next chapter, and I kind of want to advance those storylines more. Because as soon as Bobby finally like actually assaulted the fucking luxury cruiser they're on and took it over, you know, got the Razorback off of it to finally do something instead of just sit there like a prisoner the whole time, I was like, oh god, it took you guys long enough. Because like fucking 5 or 6 chapters ago, she was like, oh yeah, if they, you know, we're gonna say the ship needs repaired or something's wrong, and they say no, we're gonna say fuck you, we're taking the ship over, and they, because you know told us we couldn't do things or whatever. And it's like, well, that turned from hey fuck you right away to like just sit and eat some shit and drink a bunch of gin and a bunch of other shit. Yeah, so I mean, got like 80 some pages, like almost 90 left in it. I don't think anything too dramatic is gonna happen yet. Maybe it will.
Yeah.
Well, I was assuming there's probably gonna be some kind of like big unveil or cliffhanger or some resolution of the beginning plot. But at the same time, it's like there's only 90 pages. That's a lot of ground to cover when they're still in space, technically.
Well, it's basically they have like a big war at the end of it, where just the Martians and the Earth fleet are fighting each other. Like, are they in the middle of that right now where you're reading?
Well, they
No,
fly. Yeah.
Where I left off today when I got off my overtime shift was that they just plugged in Bobby's suit and they were watching the original footage from the attack on Ganymede or whatever.
So there's that, and there's 2 more surprises. Or I might be conflating that with a third. No. Yeah, there's one more. There's either 1 or 2 more surprises. I can't remember.
Because now I just need to find the third book so I can continue it in sequence instead of probably waiting like 3 or 4 weeks to actually get to it. Because that's time. Because Amazon's like $10 for most of their novels on paperback, which is pretty reasonable considering it's like 17 sticker.
And I should be getting the Expanse RPG book sometime. Like, they said they are starting to send them out this week, but I didn't get it. I didn't get a notification that's sent out, but they're starting to send them out this week.
Oh, I should get off my ass then and finish reading shit. Because Nathan, have you made any more headway into that, the RPG thing?
No, I've just been waiting for Conlon to get the.
Okay.
Once I get the go signal, I'll start diving in.
Okay. I guess I didn't know if you're like just sneaking peeks at certain things or.
I try not to do things way out in advance because then I'll forget them later.
Oh.
Well, yeah, I had one joke about the art because I remember, like you like the art.
I like the art because it was reminiscent of Shadowrun. It was the old FASA.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's great art. It reminded me of FASA.
Well, I think like most art's good except for some of the way they draw people is weird. Because like I called like how they draw Avasarla, it's like, oh, it's Avasarla the Christmas poo.
Well, I mean, in the book they just kind of say she's really short and wrinkly and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd go as far as like call her the Christmas poo or make it look like one, but yeah.
I always thought of Avasarala as like a female Gandhi if she was raised in a bad part of America, which is basically the whole country's a bad part now. 'Cause she has that whole kind of like three-dimensional thinking and that culture about her, but then she's like, well, fuck that. Just talks like a longshoreman. Because when that guy has that warrant for her arrest or whatever, she's like, you can roll that up and fuck it either way. I don't. She just talks like that the whole time. But then supposedly, you know, she's a very, I mean, not supposedly, she's a very intelligent woman, but she's also really vulgar at the same time. So yeah, there was some, I mean, like I said, I would just notice the artwork and the stuff you sent me is like, oh, they're taking their cues from FASA,
Yeah.
Shadowrun universe, because that's, I mean, they might have even been the same artists. I don't know.
I guess I didn't look into that.
Well, I mean, FASA, I think they're defunct, but I think they still get republished through everyone. All those old role-playing games I used to have are coming back now
Yeah.
because people are discovering tabletop gaming like it's some new thing. It's like, no, this is what you abandoned to go to your fucking computers. And you got tired of everyone, you know, calling you names and saying horrible shit. And it's like, oh, I want to play face-to-face with people again.
Yeah, because supposedly like the first and second edition of D&D is having a big resurgence right now.
Yeah, D&D's always been steady.
Well, because there's like a Stranger Things version of the rule book and shit that comes with a. What's the monster in that thing from the Upside Down? Like the guy.
Demogorgon?
Yeah, there's like a Demogorgon figure in there with the book, and then like little models for the kids and shit like that. But
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who owns, because Games Workshop owns the rights to a lot of like European RPGs. And I forget who owns the FASA catalog. Maybe it's Wizards of the Coast. I think because they own Dungeons and Dragons too. But yeah, a lot of that stuff's like seeing.
I remember at some point Microsoft owned that stuff, or at least for the video game portions of it.
I think the video game parts of it they did.
Because like the game company that made like the Shadowrun game and stuff like that for 360, it was called FASA. Like,
Yeah,
and it was
FASA.
and it was
FASA something. Yeah.
and it was under Microsoft, and then they just like fucking canned that whole thing.
Yeah, because I think
well, they also made the MechWarrior games.
Yes, that was another FASA property as an RPG. That had some of the best mech art.
Yeah.
Was a BattleTech series from FASA.
Yeah.
Some of the best mech art you'll ever see to this day was still the 1980s FASA BattleTech. Yes, yeah. What was that property that Wizards of the Coast bought, where they bought everything else? It's what made them. Oh, Magic the Gathering.
Oh yeah.
They started that. Wizards of the Coast did, and then they bought everything related to that.
Good God, like my hobby shop, like that. I mean, every hobby shop pretty much sells the shit out of those for the most part. But just like the kind of money people pour into collectible cards every 3 months when a new wave comes out. I'm just like, because I've seen the shit they have now. Like they have fucking like 3 different kinds of booster packs. You can buy fucking like customizable decks and shit. It's like I played Magic in high school. It was pretty entertaining. It was pretty fun. But it's like I don't know if I have $500 every 3 months to blow on fucking cards you can't ever use again.
There's a computer game they're coming out with. It's in like early access right now, but it's supposed to be pretty good. It's like wherever where Steam fucked up artifact. Like they're supposed to basically like, hey, they fucked that up. Here you go. Here's the game you really want. It's a Magic the Gathering computer game.
I mean, the last one they released got really good reviews. I just never played it.
Well, they had one that was like a yearly thing, but this one's like slightly different. Like it's more like geared towards like a video game environment where like because they had those ones like it's Magic the Gathering 2017 and it's like all like the and like you'd have to keep like buying a new deck within that game. I think that's how that worked. You know, gotta get your hooks in. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what Magic's all about. Or you can be part of
I've never played Magic. I remember I used to buy the Star Trek next gen card game, but I never played the game. I just thought the pictures looked cool.
Yeah. I have a lot of role playing games. I never played them. I just like the artwork and the storytelling. Like Shadowrun, I've never played a game of Shadowrun with anyone ever, but I literally had all like the first, second edition source books, all the supplemental stuff, because I just like the artwork and the universe.
Yeah, there's a lot of, especially like you get into like the bestiaries and all the other stuff where it's like, I was looking at a Pathfinder book like 3 or 4 months ago. It was like this fucking like it was a were-wasp, and it was like a fucking weird combination. It was like a wasp riding a fucking horse, like a sword and fucking shield. And it was like that looks really fucking cool. I don't think that's really something you'd fucking replicate, but that looks kind of cool. So yeah, it's I don't know. There's a lot of cool aspects to art. I don't really own a lot of hobby stuff just for the art of it most times. Oh fuck, that's what I forgot to bring. I was gonna bring some shit that I painted and I totally forgot about it. Not that Nathan can really see that well, but you know, next time you come over here, remind me, and I'll bring you over to my house, and you can look at shit in
Just
real life.
put pictures of them, put them on Facebook. That's what I do.
Yeah. I'm old. I don't do. I don't do the things you young kids do.
Just get a box, put some white paper in it, make sure it's reflective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made my own light box for the other stuff.
Or you can just go outside when it's a nice day and do that too. But
Yeah.
no, I just forget about it.
I used to buy a lot of that stuff. And the other people that were interested in the RPG stuff with me, some of them were like, I wasn't really friends with like the real nerdy kids in high school because I just wasn't that into. I just like the aesthetics of things, and it's like, oh, we should do role playing games. Like, okay, and I'll show up with like a few books and like, yeah, fill out a character sheet. It's like, where's all your dice and charts? I'm no good at math, dude. I'm just gonna tell the story. We're just gonna roll with this. And like people were horrified, like, you can't do that. You got to follow rules. No, you don't have to follow rules when you're making shit up. I'm just gonna make it up. We're gonna have an adventure. It's gonna be great. Oh no, we need to have dice and rules and numbers and charts. It's like, I'm a better storyteller than that. I can actually make shit up. I have an imagination, believe it or not. Some people went with me on it. Some people thought I was committing some form of blasphemy. I felt like the Martin Luther of role-playing games. It's like, he's a blasphemer. He doesn't use dice and charts. Why not? Because he's a dumbass when it comes to math. Essentially.
Well, it's something where I played D&D once now, and it was fine. I wouldn't say it was anything that I thought was bad. I don't know how often I'd play it recreationally. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Expanse thing to see how that works out as far as like how much
Three
gameplay.
people over the internet are gonna
Oh, yeah.
collide with a book of and have never played D&D before.
Oh, I've played that stuff before with other
Oh
people
yeah, I guess I haven't though.
running it. But see, I immediately abandoned it because it was either they
Also,
want-
I guess I just assume I'm gonna be the dungeon master here, and that's gonna probably be weird. And the only experience I have is like I've listened to like 5 podcasts, actually more than that. There's a television show about D&D is too, but like I like hear how it goes and like, oh yeah, this could be fun.
I mean, when I did it in high school and we were playing like a lot of the, what was our thing? It was mainly the White Wolf Game Studios, like, what was it called?
Hunter the Gathering?
Something like it was werewolves, vampires, and all that shit set in the modern times. And yeah, I mean, if you play games with me, it's not going to be a one evening sitting. It's going to come with homework, and you're going to write backstories for your characters, and I'm just going to make shit up. and Gandalf might show up or something in one of the things. Yeah,
Or Hunter the Reckoning.
there was a bunch of them.
I'm already gonna say my character for the Expanse RPG is gonna be a space orphan. Not because it just doesn't mean he's just not a regular orphan or she's not a regular orphan. It's just space orphan sounds way better. Oh yeah, I remember that fucking game.
Yeah, I believe this is based on the White Wolf thing.
Oh really? Well, I know it's
It
only
might be
human
called
characters
something
you
different.
played as, right?
Huh?
There's only human characters you played as, right? If I remember.
Yeah, you play as 4 different characters.
Yeah, I think when we were doing it was pre-Hunter the Reckoning, but nobody wanted to be supernatural characters because that seems stupid. So it was just characters that hunted them down. So it essentially evolved into elaborate steampunk mechanisms and improbable technologies and physical strength. It's like, I'm gonna kill a werewolf with a sword. Well, no, probably not, but we could make that work somehow. It would just have to be fired from a cannon, maybe. Yeah, we did shit like that.
Yeah,
And always with homework assignments.
with
You
that,
remember those weird legal pads with all the sketches and shit I used to have in it,
Yeah.
and pages of stuff drawn out? Yeah, that was all my role playing stuff.
yeah, I had one idea before I even know what the game is. I don't even know if we'll implement it. Probably not. Is that I was gonna have everybody create 2 characters, one that you want to keep going with, and one that we're gonna try to as much as possible to get killed in some way.
Disposable character. Call those DCs.
I know that's what people at the shop do if they think they're not going to have enough people for a session. They just have people run multiple character sheets, and they just try and kill off and fucking fuck with the whole game, and then other ones they try and keep. The ones where it's like if death actually means anything, those are kind of the more interesting campaigns because then at least you're not like, oh, I'll just get somebody to heal me, or in D&D it would be like, oh, cast a healing spell, but the Expanse is just like, get you to a medical
Get to the auto dock.
Drop the auto dock on.
So there's not going to be a healer class at least, unless somebody's just going to play a medical kiosk that sits in a wall.
I think there are medic sub professions in the.
okay.
I've only given a curse.
I guess I figured there'd be like mechanics and there'd be the different forms like between Belters and Martians and Earth.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
they have doctors in the Expanse universe, but they're all evil because they're really like highly they're all people that work with the proto molecule. Because like doctors as healers, that's all autodocs and shit. But like actual physicians, they're all psychos.
Yeah,
Like, how can we implement the proto molecule into people? Because I don't really have a job anymore because computers took my job.
yeah. I guess I didn't think about that because as soon as they his name in the first half of the book, Dr. Strickland in the second book, where it's kind of like he's going over like, oh yeah, he helped all these children with rare diseases survive and stuff. And it never occurred to me like, wait, he's an actual fucking doctor. It's not just some fucking kiosk you took your kid to and said her fever is 105, give me medicine.
Which one was the side story? Was it the Vital Abyss?
Vital Abyss.
Or the Gods of Risk?
The Gods of Risk is on Mars. That's one where the kid makes drugs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Vital Abyss is the one with the scientists.
That's the one with the one like psychiatrist figured out. It's like, well, if we make everyone into sociopaths artificially, they'll be much more efficient. And then they capture all these people. Like, these guys are all trying to kill each other. It's like, oh yeah, you didn't know about the sociopath thing. It's like, oh fuck, and the whole book.
Yeah,
is
they basically just remove their morals, but keep like their
brains.
their intuitive sense of like figuring things out. And they're constantly trying to fucking kill each other the whole time they're trying to work with the proto molecule. It's fucking insane.
And the people on Mars that when they finally get captured, they don't know how to deal with them. It's like, we want to interrogate them and we want their information, but they're all like, it's like 100 Dr. Lectors in the room. How do we work with this? And
yeah, and it's also an irreversible process, so like they can't be like basically have morals once again.
Yeah, because I know they talk about in the first.
Because they irradiate some part of their brain that would like control that, like their inhibitions and stuff.
Well, because
like
I know
that.
when Miller raids the station or does the ground raid on the station in the first book and stuff like that, he does notice like, oh, these people are all fucking crazy.
Yep.
And shit. It's like I didn't know if they'd explain that more.
Yeah,
They
it's in the side book called The Vital Abyss.
yeah, that's why, because when they sieged this place, they were expecting to fight people with anti-personnel weapons. and really all they had were crowd control weapons, the people in the base that they raided, and they figured out later on, it's like, oh, they had those crowd control weapons to stop them from killing each other, because they didn't want to shoot them with a shotgun, so they'd taser them or use sting balls or gas or whatever they had. That's why it was so easy for them to take the base, because they were in like battle armor and that shit didn't stop them. It's like, why do they only have riot type guns? It's like, oh, okay. But anyway,
Yeah, Vital Abyss is a pretty good side story. Gods of Risk is terrible.
Oh,
yeah,
And the Churn I liked. I'm not sure if it adds a whole lot. I just liked it.
the Churn is cool. Drive is also cool. You can read that for free on their website now, I think. You don't have to buy Drive anymore.
Well, I hope not for 3 pages.
No, it's like 30 pages, but it's about it's the sad, horrible story about the invention of the
Epstein Drive.
Epstein Drive, how the guy is just
It's the
he's still out
novelization.
there sailing into the void.
Oh. Say it's the novelization of the movie Drive.
No,
That was based on a book.
believe it or not. But anyway, this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.